Good evening. Welcome back to another Sunday live stream. I hope you're all having a wonderful weekend so far, whether or not it's Sunday evening, Sunday daytime, whatever. Hello. I hope you're having a great day so far. Thank you for joining the stream. We're going to be kitbashing some Skaven. I called them Skaven in my other video to notify the difference from Age of Sigmar Skaven. But yeah, we're going to be building some more Skaven Mechs. It's something that's been requested a lot, so I thought, well, a stream is a good time to do it. A good time to do it as any. But yeah, I hope everyone's having a wonderful time. Yeah. Have you ever made Skaven 40k infantry? No, not yet. So the kind of the vibe that I went for last time, if you haven't seen it, I did it at like I took the Onager Dune Crawler and then added on one of the tank scenery piece things from Necromunda and added that to the legs and basically made a tank out of that. Messing up the focus there. And yeah, so basically what I wanted to do was to take that and that kind of theme that I took with the Skaven kind of in 40k and extend that to other stuff. And I just kind of never really had a good idea for infantry, so I thought, well, let's just continue to build big mechs. So I'm just going to be building some mechs. If you've seen the thumbnail, you kind of know the idea that I'm going to go with this already. It's going to be a Castellan based model, sticking with the ad mech vibe. And yeah, I'm just going to add some little ratty bits to it. Basically, we have some parts. I've kind of got everything that I think I might need. I've got some Votan parts, we might dig into those. I've got some Necromunda parts, we might dig into those. Maybe some Astra Militarum, probably not. And of course, Skaven parts as well. And all my AdMech stuff as well. So yeah, lots to choose from. We're going to be just kitbashing away. We're going to be doing some chatting. If you have any questions, I'll keep checking the comments and chat and everything. So yeah, I hope everyone is having a good time and is ready to do some kitbashing. Right, okay, so where are we now? Bam, okay, cool. So basic thing, first thing that I need to do is to use this old Castellan box. I've actually had these for so long. I had these in the, I think there was like a box set that came with like 3 squads of them or something. It was one of those like Christmas boxes that came with a bunch of them, and I just bought the box. I never built any of them because I just wanted them in my collection because I thought, oh, I really like those models. I'll build them eventually. Never did. So I have no thought I'd finally get to use them. So I'm going to kind of focus mainly on the torso to begin with. I think it's a good starting point, and then we can, as we move on, depending on how far we get in this kind of stream, we might extend further down into like a few ideas into the legs and the arms and things like that. But yeah, for the most part, the structure is going to be based around this. We're going to essentially, if you're not familiar with the Castellan robot, that's what it looks like normally. So this torso structure is going to be very much the same. It's big enough for a little rat boy to sit in there. Maybe have his head poking out, I think. I think that's probably going to be the best one to do. We need to kind of get that rat aesthetic across. Luckily, this helmet section is removable, so you can make like maybe like a little cockpit kind of design there. But yeah, apart from that, I have no idea. This is literally, we're going to be doing doing everything live. It could work, it might not do, but if it does, then it's all good. Yeah, so we're just going to start with this. So if you have any questions, like I said, then have I got the same sprue twice here? Yes, I have. That's helpful. Oh no, hang on. No, it isn't. No, I'm okay. It's just what threw me is that the little like tech priest guy that comes with him is on both sprues. So where's the torso section? We're going to skip ahead on here. 15, and then you'd stick the head in normally, and then you would pop the back on, and then events. Okay, we can build the torso fairly quickly. Yeah, cool. Anyway, like I said, I hope you are having a great time. If you've been hobbying in the last few days, last few weeks or so since the last stream, then I hope, then let me know what you've been working on. Open cockpit or rat head sticking through a crack in the helmet. That's a good idea, actually. That's a good shout. It was one thing I was kind of thinking it would be good to have some. I need to have that Skaven there, I think, just to get that aspect across. I think because I don't really have any infantry in this force, and it's all very much in the case of make sure that's in focus and on the camera. Because what I'm doing is very much in vehicle terms at the moment. I had to have like a little Skaven guy poking out the top of the tank. Even though the tank kind of makes sense when you see it as a Skaven, it's not immediately obvious that it is Skaven related. So, but I think I called them Skaven. like with a Y rather than an E in that last video. Alright, so this is what I'm thinking, really. This is like the main kind of... So we're going to have to fill out this cavity somehow. How we do that, maybe we can modify the head, pop that in there, maybe do something. I have seen some tricks where people have said, I want to try it out actually, I've never tried this out, but loads of people have suggested it, where you get the head, if I'm remembering this rightly, and then I think it says something about you clip away these little tabs. I'll trim those down as well. And then, when you've trimmed these down, you can actually sink the head a little bit lower, and you can actually spin it around as well, so it has more of like a smooth, featureless kind of mirror ball helmet, rather than the weird little sonic eyes that it has normally. Yeah, so let's see if this works, because I've never tried this before, but I have seen people do it. So yeah, they say that if you get the torso, I'm kind of doing this dry fitting at the moment, but it's probably easy to do not dry fit. Put those together, try and hold them together, and then if you, it might need to be trimmed down a little bit more, but yeah, basically if you pop it down, yeah, there we go. So that's basically the thing that I've seen people suggest as an option. So if you want more of like a featureless design, it also kind of makes the head a little bit stubbier. So maybe we could work with this actually. Maybe there's something we could do there. We'll see. Let's put those tweezers up there. There's like a little bit of a hole there. Oh, okay. Votan looking head. Yes, it does look like the Votan kind of mech guys, doesn't it? So yeah, it's maybe there's something we can do with that. Let's go get some Skaven. So I have a few options. We have a few options. Make the recessed head warpstone. That's a good idea, actually. You can actually have it completely, because these are supposed to be in the ad mech lore. These are actually straight up. Stream Elements is just catching up. It's just like, okay, everyone's subscribed. Thanks Stream Elements for that. So I do have a few parts in here that might be of use. What have we got? What have we got? We've got Storm Fiends, which are some rats we could use. Who's this? This is the little pilot guy from the back that sits in the back of the, what's it called? Doom Wheel. That's the word I'm looking for. These are quite nice little components to use as well. I'll probably find some use for these kind of warpstone bits. But yeah, I quite like the warpstone idea. I actually have, speaking of warpstone, I actually have a good idea for that. So let's see what I've got in here. So this box actually has the remnants of my, if you remember my Necrophax Colossus, you can see this is where I sawed off the parts that went into making, like the beams and stuff that went into make my Necrophax Colossus. So they're the parts from there. I do have, I hope I put it in here because, yes, I did. Sorry if that's loud, by the way. These, so I quite like the idea of the warpstone chunk. That was great. Who said that? Who said the warpstone? Who said the warpstone idea? Was it you, Ferris? I did see it, and I completely forgot where it was. But yeah, whoever it was said. Oh yeah, it was you, Ferris. Okay, make the recessed head warpstone. Yes. Okay, thank you. You did the good choice, good option there. So yeah, it's just reminded me. I actually have these. So these are the endless spells, and I use this. I've had this in my bits box for so long because I used it for pretty much very small amount of stuff. When I did my, was it Plague Tide, my kind of custom Chaos Nurgle faction, where it had all the rats around it, I basically used this as a source for the rats. But yeah, I had these warpstone chunks, and you can see these are, and these, I reckon these are going to fit quite well, because if I just compare them to this, because this is going to be easier to you can see this, they are very similar in size, very, very similar. They'll definitely need some trimming down, but yeah, apart from that, yeah, good call. This is why sometimes it's good to do a live stream kit bash, because we get the ideas from the chat, and we can work on them, and we can tweak them. Also, you get 3 of these in here, so the only thing is you probably have to maybe dip into a few different Skaven kits, but you do get access to all these nice cool little lightning bolts and stuff like that. So yeah, lots of cool stuff on that. Definitely going to go that direction. Well, I think maybe we should plan some more stuff out first. Then actually, that might be a good idea. Just before I deep dive into anything. So yeah, perhaps if you have any claws from the catapult left, you should use that as the basis for a hand. Yes, so that kind of rat claw like hands. Let's see what we've got in here. I actually think I've got 2 plague claws, to be honest. I think I bought another kit, another box set which had them in. There we go. It's kind of unusual, really. It looks more bony than. Warp lightning cannon attached to the back of the mech. So yeah, I think the warp lightning cannon is definitely the direction that I'd like to go with in terms of. The only thing is, I feel like that might be a bit too big, but maybe not. I guess if we compare it to what options, so we have the flamer, don't we? We could actually, if we have this flamer here, and then we basically take this warpstone chunk and kind of stick it on the back. Can you see that? Can you see what I'm trying to do there? So it's almost like it's like a warpstone, like a warp fire kind of flamer. I quite like that idea. That works well. Yeah. The thing about warpstone as well, it's actually really easy to make it yourself, because you basically just get a chunk of milliput, roll it out, and then let it dry, and then you just like carve it and whittle it into a chunk of warpstone. So this is actually quite a reproducible technique. Even though this is like very much limited to one place, there might be something else we can do. Maybe we should make our own warpstone. There's plenty of sprue in here. I'm sure we could do something with that. Yeah, quite like that idea. I think we've got a good starting point here. So far, we're going to go for warpstone head. These are automatons. They are going to be warpstone powered automatons, because why not? Because it's Skaven. And I think the warpstone is enough of. And the thing is as well, because if I ever do field these guys as an army, they'll definitely be fielded as ad mech, because I have an onager basis, which is kind of like a tank. So it has like an onager dream caller weapon, legs, base size. So it's perfect for proxies. That these guys as well, perfect proxies. You just use them as Castellan robots. So if we can kind of keep things as on tangent as possible as we can do with these kit bashes, I think that's a good idea. So yeah, if we go for that's normally what it comes with. You can see the flamer there. It normally comes with this tank, and I think straight away that tank is very, very Skaven anyway. If we keep that tank and we basically had a little bit of warpstone coming out the back here, so it's kind of a warpstone flamethrower, perfect. Warpstone chunk on the head. Claws, yeah, I think I quite like the clawed ideas with. So I'll tell you the idea I had with the feet, because obviously if you look at these feet, let's have a look at the components first. They're almost like rat claws already, aren't they? I reckon if I trimmed that little section out there, it kind of would look like a little rat toe already. Maybe if we popped a little bit of. There's lots of like sticky outy bits that we can possibly use somewhere. Had those just there poking out, that might work as some sort of little clawed foot. Yeah, lots of options here. Lots of options. It's going to work. I think we're going to do it. We're going to do it. My only idea is to make the mech look rat-like. I can probably get maybe a tail in there as well, can't we? We can probably do something with the tail. There's plenty of. Where do I have it? Annoyingly, I have loads of Forge Fiend whip parts from when I did my... let me show you. Firefox. Is that showing okay? Yep. So when I did my Chaos... What was it called now? No. What's it called? Kadai Destroyer, that was it. When I did my Kadai Destroyer, I had a whole bunch of Forge Fiend parts left over from that. And that Forge Fiend comes with... Mauler Fiend, sorry, not Forge Fiend. Games Workshop's website's been really terrible recently. Really, really bad. That would work. I've got a Halbrute somewhere as well. Actually, I have the Halbrute. I think, yeah, these would work really well. These kind of... I might have a Halbrute. Bear with me. I might have a Halbrute in a cupboard. I'll have a look later, if maybe. Is there a way to make it more hunched over? Possibly. It's all very much ball jointed, so there's maybe a way we could do something with the positioning. I think that if we... Let's just have a look from directly. Let's see. Sometimes it's easier to look at the finished model and decide. So the thing is, you've got this kind of waist here. These are a section. These are a section. Is there a single? Yeah, perfect. These are a section. These are a section. Can you see my toe? Yeah, you can. And this is like a ball joint here, if I'm not mistaken. So we could possibly... The only thing is about getting it hunched over, the whole thing would just end up looking like it's just leaning forward. I don't know if we've got enough movement. What I might do is, you see how there's legs here? We could maybe try and have the legs lifted up. And they have, if there's a spinny shot. Is there a spinny 360? Yeah, perfect. So, these little stabilization... Why is that missing? That must have fallen out. If we have the feet lifted up a little bit more to kind of have that rat tail. I think there's definitely something here that's like a little rat tail. Just have that poking out there. Maybe we could get the hunch going. They're kind of leaned back ever so slightly, so maybe if we could kind of move it forward a bit more, that might work. Could this model's upper body be hunched over? Oh yeah, I've already read that bit. I repose my Castellans a lot. One has superhero landing pose. Yeah, they're all ball sockets, which is quite nice actually. If you rotate the torso 180, that'd move the arms and head forward. Yeah, you're right actually. It would do. So you're saying have this on the front? Yeah, that might work. Yeah. We'd have to move this. This is a separate piece. So what do we have on the back at the moment? We have... Let's see how it looks. So we have the... this little section here. Up some pipes, not too bad. Yeah, the only thing is, it has to be... They would be further forward, but my... I guess the idea of this is it isn't really... The warpstone doesn't need to see it. It's not got like a sensor. So maybe if we put some lenses there, we have... The arms would be further forward. The warpstone would be kind of coming out there. I'd have to get rid of this anyway. There'd definitely have to be something else there. Maybe I should put the little rat head there instead. Maybe that's the option. Just like a tiny little... Let's see, where have we got a rat head handy? Just having the little rat head popping out of a hole in the front there. Where let me just minimize this. If I can see. So we can just make sure it's being lined up. Just like a little tiny little rat guy poking out there. I think that looks so weird. I don't know. I quite like the idea, but I just think it looks so strange. But yeah, it's an option. It's an option. Put a bubble dome over it like a little astronaut helmet. It'd be like a little one of those hamster balls that you put in as well. No, I think forward facing is going to be best. I think just because it's going to be, we can possibly modify the angles a little bit. Going backwards probably did have some ability, but what I'm just concerned about is if we repose the legs, we can probably get a little bit more forward hunchedness, because if we imagine that this section here pokes out that way, the legs can kind of just go down this way, so we can have a bit more hunched over. Shouldn't be too difficult. So yeah, right. We're going to need to remove this. I'm tempted just to remove. I'm going to smooth it out. We're just going to let me see it. Show it on there. We're just going to smooth it out. I think that's what we're going to do. Nothing too fancy here. We can always come back and adjust it if we need to, but I'm just going to do this before I glue anything. There's probably plenty of options we can replace it with. So the general vibe that I go for when I'm building these guys is not necessarily to be too Skaven from Warhammer Fantasy or Skaven from 40k. I kind of like the idea of them being a little bit more technologically, I don't know, competent in a way. Because the thing is about Age of Sigmar and Fantasy is that they have some of the craziest technology going easily. They have all sorts of crazy stuff. But because it's almost like they are the most advanced kind of technological species in the whole of the old world, it kind of makes sense that their stuff's a little bit janky because they're kind of pioneering in a way. They're going a much further ahead in terms of technology than any other race is. Whereas in the 40k universe, you have stuff like the Tau and the Eldar who have like technology to the point where it just comes across as magic rather than it being technology. So you can't go down the whole aspect of them being technologically superior, but that's why they're janky, because they're so kind of far ahead. So I think I quite like the idea of them almost being like mass-produced. Essentially, they are still incredible. Everything is very much utilitarian. There's not as much in the way of it being... It's not prototype stuff, it's stuff that works, but it's very, very rugged, very, very hard wearing. So they don't necessarily have that technological edge, but they have the manufacturing edge. They kind of just produce a lot of stuff very quickly. And it kind of comes back to that whole rats, vermintide aesthetic. But instead of a load of Skaven slaves with pointed sticks, you just have a load of mechs and stuff like that roaming around the battlefield. So they're not necessarily the most elegant of vehicles. They do the job, but they also are very much utilitarian, almost kind of industry grade stuff as opposed to it being weapon grades. But they don't really need to worry because they just have that much of it. Right, okay. We can smooth that out a bit more if we need to. Just want to get the bulk of it removed. I wonder if you could push a demon engine type thing with this. Maybe some biomechanical elements, sort of like how storm fiends are a combination of flesh and metal. Yeah, so this kind of feeds into that same aspect as before. I think Skaven in 40k, they would occupy a completely different niche because a lot of the other races kind of have the Skaven stuff. I suppose Admech to a degree have that kind of technological side of Skaven down. Their stuff is very much we're just going to have servitors, we're just going to graft a load of guns and tracks to them to get them going on. So they kind of have that biomechanical aspect, I suppose. And obviously the Sicarian units, they literally have their limbs removed so they can be replaced with biomechanical components because they're better suited to kill people, I guess. But yeah, so it's kind of like a strange niche. They don't really have it anymore. That kind of is that little tiny little edge there. Yeah, they don't really have that same place that they can easily slot into. So I've tried to make them their own thing a little bit more. And it's trickier than it kind of initially seems, because you can't just go... The whole bio horror stuff as well, the Dark Eldar have that down. If you look at Talos Engine and stuff like that, that's very much the same. I guess you could really go far with like the genetic mutations, but again, you're kind of straying into that territory of stuff being like super janky, but it shouldn't be, because it is supposed to be the future, I guess. So yeah, I quite like the idea of them just having... I can't remember how much I actually put in that previous video, but when I was coming up with the ideas, I like to kind of try and flesh out the world around what I'm building, just to help me when I'm building stuff. And what things I don't want to do too much is, like I said, rely too much on that previous Skaven stuff. So I thought, well, maybe what they could do, they had almost different groups within their society, the Skaven did. So they had like the worker class, and they were the ones who just was sat underground in the caves and the mining asteroids and things like that. That's all they did every day. And there was almost like a group of, I suppose, like a hive, like an ant hive, how you have the worker ants and then you have the warrior ants, but you had like warrior Skaven. So the warrior Skaven are the ones that you see on the battlefield, these military ones, and they tend to be the really well equipped and well armed. So they still have the hordes, but they're the workers. They're the ones who are toiling, mining the resources, working in the manufacturing, building the weapons, the ammunition, everything. And then the actual warrior class, a little bit more elite. So it's almost like the whole army is elite, and they don't necessarily have that horde mentality, because it's harder to have a horde mentality in space. I mean, ignoring the orcs, of course, but again, this is like another thing. The orcs kind of have that horde stuff. Tyranids have that horde thing down, that kind of ravenous biological horde. So yeah, they have to have, from to fit in 40k and still have that aesthetic, they have to occupy a different group. And I think having something which is kind of straddles the line between almost that Tyranid animal instinct kind of vibe, where everything is, where the almost fundamentally their biology determines where they are in society and what roles they do in society. I quite like that aspect, but then it also incorporating technology. So I suppose they're like tech Tyranids in a way. I suppose that's how I describe them. For anyone who doesn't know what Peter's talking about, no, I don't know what I'm talking about either, to be honest. I'm trying to philosophize on what place Skaven have in the 40k universe. So Votan, not even quite Votan. Votan are just like space miners, aren't they? That's kind of what they are. But they do have, yeah, I guess it's hard. It's hard to do it. Now I have this idea of Skaven infiltrating AdMech, because who could tell without looking beneath the robe? That's true. The thing is, the amount of AdMech modifications that people have, like the priests and stuff, you wouldn't necessarily know. I'm tempted to glue this together first, actually, and then glue the warpstone in. I think that might be a better idea, because it gives me a better idea of the shape. I just need to trim those down. Let's just clean those up, and then we'll glue this torso, and then we'll start getting that warpstone in there. To be honest, that's kind of, it was such a good idea, and I'm not even taking credit for that one. I could do, and just delete the person. Was it Ferris? I think it was in the comments. Just to hide them from the channel so they can never exist anymore. But no, it was a good idea. I wasn't fully committed to the idea of using a little Skaven head popping out. I think it might have looked a little bit too derpy, but I did want to have that Skaven link back. I don't want them just looking like a different type of Castellan robot. So I think definitely having a little warpstone chunk in the middle there works well. Right, should be enough glue. Put that together, and then whilst this is drying, what I'll do is I'll make a start on trying to remove one of those warpstone chunks. Did I leave it on my... I did. Look at that. So yeah, they kind of have a little bit of There is another section to them, actually. There is these bits. So what I could do is I might attach them to these first, and then that gives me a little bit more of a shape to use to kind of sit into that neck. So the tornado little bit's cool. I quite like that. So one of the things I was actually going back to the Kadai Destroyer video that I did, there is also in the Chaos Dwarves expansion for Total War, there was these Kadai somethings, I can't remember, there was like these little fire elementals, and they had like this like little fire tornado, and I thought this would be a really cool little idea for it. Now I don't have the instructions for these, so I can't remember which one goes with, so we're going to do trial and error. Let's see which one goes where. Does that one go there? I don't think it does. No. Let's try on this one. No, I don't think so. Hopefully it's this one, because it's the only one that's left. So what happens when you lose the instructions? I think it is this one. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so if I clip this away now, I probably won't use the lightning. I will use the lightning, just not as part of the head. I'll keep it separate, so I'll clip all of this off the sprue and then clip it away from the actual warpstone itself. So this is the Endless Spell, the Skaven one. It's actually quite hard to get hold of now, to be honest. It's one of those things that goes direct only on Games Workshop until they forget, until they remember that they actually have to start selling Endless Spells when a new army book releases, something like that. And then for a long time, they basically just stay out of stock for such a long time. Right, let's clip that away. Oh my god, this is probably the most attached piece to the sprue. Perfect. And then, hopefully this is right. It seems, yep, there we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut off the chunk roughly here, get rid of that, cut off these electrical bolts, probably shave down these sides a little bit just to maybe remove a few of these. It's not too bad having a few, I guess. And then that should fit nicely into there. Just a big old hunk of warpstone. I'd be interested to see some Skaven jump pack infantry in 40k. That would be sick. Well, there is actually they have jump pack guys, don't they? The Admech do. The Petraxi, if I'm not mistaken, I think. Yeah, if I use those as a basis, you could probably do some like warpstone jump packs. That'd be pretty cool, actually. There's a lot of really cool stuff in the Admech arsenal that would work really well for Skaven stuff. And I don't even think I would have to use Scutari, because I reckon the Cataphron breaches, they would just be so easily modified. It's like someone mentioned about the whole kind of flesh morphing aspect that Skaven have. You could just get some of those guys and just graft rat torsos to the tops of them, keep the mech wheels, keep the weapons, and just have like just a big rat on top. Right, how does this go together now? Definitely did fit together there. Perfect. So what I'll do is cut that away, use my saw, and then clean everything up. I might glue everything and then clean everything, actually, because it will help allow me to better see what goes where. But most of this will be hidden, I think, once this gets sat in the cavity like that. We'll probably have to trim down even further. Okay, so if we just... This is going to be quite a rough cut, I think. We don't need it to be... It doesn't need to be very big, because... It doesn't need to be very neat, sorry, not big. Because once this is inside the neck, you won't see it, so no worries. Don't need a nice, smooth surface here. Can Castellan robots carry autoguns or equivalents? Could give it a rattling gun. So they can carry, they have these like fist weapons, which have got, they've got these things. So yeah, they could have something. I just don't have anything to use as a... Tell I actually do. I don't know what the sizing's like though. Bear with me. Let me cut this out and then possibly we have an option. Now, as an idea, this may or may not work. So, I have a box of the special weapons upgrades, and these have these little rotor cannons. Now, I don't know if they're big enough. That I don't know if these would be the correct size, but we can try them. We can see. It's promising. It's promising. Can you see that? It's not bad. It's kind of like, it's bigger than the barrel that's already there, so I think you can get away with it. Now that's tempting. Because they don't really settle anywhere. I'm trying to get them lined up without clipping away from the sprue, just because I don't want to remove them if I don't actually need them. Yeah, I think that works. Right, I think that works. I think we're going to go for that. What weapon options do these guys have? Is it either both, are they phosphor blasters, or are they, is that what they are? The weapons? The anti-tank weapons that Castellans have are their power fists. Yeah. Let's have a look. Let's get the 40k app up. I haven't looked on that for a few days, so let's look. They can mix now. Oh. Okay, that's good. So yeah, that actually gives us a really good option. Data sheets. Oh, okay. I'm on the combat troll. That's why it's not showing up. Index, data sheets. Okay. Castellan robots, war gear options. Any number of models can each have their twin Castellan fist replaced with the following: one phosphor blaster and one fist, or one phosphor blaster and one twin Castellan phosphor blaster. That's pretty cool. Okay. I did not know that. That is interesting. 24 inches, ignores cover. Okay. I think we're going to go for that. I think we're going to go for a rattling gun on one fist, and then we're going to go for the claw on the other fist. I think that makes the most sense, personally. I'm both AdMech and Skaven, so it's amusing to see. Well, this means you can just mix and match all those spare components that you have. Right, okay, so I think we've got now, so we've got a choice, we've got an option. We're going to go for the flamer on the top, because why not? Rat claw and a rattling gun, yeah, there we go. I think we're going to have that. That's a good option. This is a really kind of nice audience participation stream. It's probably the most audience participation stream that I've had. I can't help but think it's just because it's rats. It's just, when it's Skaven, everyone is different when it's Skaven. I think everyone has that kind of like little bit of manic inventor energy when they're talking about Skaven. Either that or the stream's just attracted all the Skaven players or the Skaven fans out there, and you guys are the most inventive minds. We do a Space Marine stream and everyone's like, yeah, so that would be acceptable. That would follow the Codex Astartes. Yes, correct. And then as soon as it's Skaven, it's like, yes, stick things on. Right, let's glue this together. So that gives me an idea as to where I can trim these off now. Clean this up a bit. I don't know why I haven't kind of come back to the Skaven idea. I quite enjoyed doing that. I just didn't really have a good idea. I didn't feel like I had a good idea, but this is quite nice actually. So yeah, there's definitely going to need to be, so that's roughly what we're going for. Definitely going to need to trim it down. It can't protrude that much personally. Probably didn't need that little bit underneath either, thinking about it in hindsight. I'm just really tempted to stick some googly eyes on there. But yeah, no, this definitely needs to be lower, I think. And again, I'm not going to just have it all this edge all jagged. I want it to be nice and kind of properly finished. I think that's the idea I want to go with these guys. I want them to be rough and ready, a little bit utilitarian, but not like hacked together stuff, and not orcs basically. This is gonna look so dumb. I'm just imagining it now, just this kind of like the guy with a rock in his head. Another good source of rocks are the big cow monster things for the Lumineth. Those have got some cool rocks on the back of them. I've been very tempted to build like a custom Vermin Lord out of one of those, because they're about the right size and just have that whole load of rock that they have on their backs just warpstone. I think that'd just be funny. Okay. So I actually think it's starting to go down a little bit more. I might actually trim this down just a bit more, actually. I think I've misjudged the height on this one. I maybe could have gotten away with just using the top section in hindsight, but you live and you learn, I guess. Or I live it and you learn it. You know it for the future. It's getting a bit better. I think it's looking... I think once that's embedded a bit more, it'll look better. But I do think this is maybe far too big as it currently stands. Right. Let's trim this down even further. I think... Let's see where it's touching the edges. So this section here is touching... if I remove that... Yeah, I actually don't think I needed to glue the bottom on this at all. I actually think I've made my life harder. I should have done a dry fit before, and then that would have given me a better idea. Because if you look at the edge, this is the far edge, and I think it would actually pin, even in more hindsight, better to stick this through the neck and have it poking up. I guess we're going to rip this apart now, aren't we? Hopefully the glue's not too... Oh god, this glue is actually really good. Most of the time when I've done stuff like this, it is just not glued properly. Whenever you glue stuff and you don't need it to be glued, when you need it to be glued, it falls apart. But as soon as you don't need it to be glued, it suddenly becomes... We're going to employ some leverage, and it's going to break the paintbrush. Let's get a better quality paintbrush and do it with that. There we go. No. What the hell? Okay, that's interesting. Okay, it's note to self, that's glued incredibly well. I'm just going to go for... Yeah, I should have gone the other way around. I should have put this in the neck first and then glued it together in place, because... it's the best approach now. Dremel? Is it Dremel time? Has he super glue? No, I've used plastic. I've actually cut myself. Look at that. Trying to pull apart the thing, I've actually cut myself. I've not even cut myself with a knife. That's the best thing. I've just literally... How have I cut myself on a piece of blunt plastic? Paint the stone to make it look like a rat. This is like plastic glue, but it's for whatever reason, it is just completely just rock solid sealed. I don't know if it's the shape of the bond. I don't know if it's just the glue. I don't know if it's just because I've got a fan on and it's just dried a bit quicker. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. let's... I might just get the Dremel out because I think it's going to be easier. It's going to be noisy, but it'll be easier. Can you use shavings to make shards that fill in the gaps? Yeah, probably. You know it's a good kit bash when you have to use a Dremel. Right, I've got to figure out what I can actually unplug from here. If the stream suddenly goes off now, you know why. Hopefully this is an okay plug to remove. Oh, we're okay, we're good. There we go. Perfect. Right, okay, so what do... what's my go-to piece normally with this? That one will do. I think that'll do. Okay. But make sure there's no blood visible on stream before I get demonetized or something. Speed sanding. So that's one edge. Still a lot to go down here. It's not terribly loud. It's pretty good too. I'm surprised because the microphone that I've got is actually, it's pretty good. It kind of, the further away I talk, it has a cut-off point. I don't know what it's called. I don't know if that's called a compressor. I don't know if that's something else. But yeah, it's surprisingly... Oh man, that's actually... I'm bleeding quite a bit now. I haven't got anything I can use. That'll do. Burn the wound shut. I've got super glue. We'll use that. We'll just glue it shut, right? I think it's just because it's like I've cut myself and I'm just applying pressure to the point where, because it's right on my thumb. This is the dedication I have for my craft. Literal blood, sweat, and tears go into these builds. We need to... Yeah, I've really kind of messed up the order of this. I'm tempted just to go and just use another torso at the moment, but yeah. It's that British tank that you put it sideways. Put the gun in sideways, yeah. Okay, we've still got a little bit more to go. Let's trim a bit more off this. Whose idea was this again? Right, let's try and pop this now. Okay, we're slowly getting there. Slowly but surely getting there. It'll get to a point where it's just going to fit perfectly, and then we'll be glad we did it. But for the time being, it's... Okay. Ever so it's like really, really slow going, but I think once we get past this certain width, it's kind of starts tapering off. So I think once we get past that, it should get there. I'm not sure how kind of... Is that high enough? Is that too high? Is that... Can we go deeper? Your idea, innocent enablers. That's good-ish. So that translates to being... We can go deeper. Let's see. The thing is, at the moment, I'm not sure if it's catching on this edge or if I'm hit the bottom there. So I might just shave down the bottom of this just to be on the safe side. Surprisingly hot. Right, let's see. Okay, so yeah, we are hitting the edges still. I can think this is the edge that I can still see. Oh, we're very, very close now. Oh, okay. I think we got it. I think that's about right. It's about the same height as a regular kind of head. I quite like the little kind of... It's about the same height, I think, if I remember rightly. If you imagine that this would sit normally there, I think that size-wise works. Yeah. Okay, let's clean this up now. Let's put the Dremel away for one moment, and then we'll come back to that. Okay, that was hard. So I basically ended up cutting myself on the plastic, as you do, and then resorting to a Dremel, which all could have been avoided had I just basically thought to assemble the model and then, well, put the rock in there before I assembled it. But yeah, for future references. So what I did here is that you can see I did the wrong thing on purpose, and the reason for doing that was just so that if you ever just decide to do this, you don't make the silly rookie mistake of doing that. You know now that that's not the right way to do it. I already knew that it was the wrong way to do it, but I thought I'll just show you guys what it is, and then you know, and then I already knew, but you need to know. And I thought the best way to do it was show you. So yeah. Hey Pete, are you going to do any old world stuff? Would love to see what you can come with conversions and paint wise. Yes, put simply, yes. I don't know what though. I don't know when it's coming out. I don't know what's coming out. I don't know what we're going to have. But yes, I will definitely do some old world stuff. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Probably conversions. So has to be conversions. Do you have any tips for making custom stuff for Kitbashers? As a very broad question. I guess you mean like maybe custom factions or custom models, things like that. I would say the best piece of advice I can have is when you're thinking about something, I touched on it in the stream as well, is try and come up with a backstory for something first. Then you can build the model around that and help. It kind of gives an idea of how you can flesh things out. You can make things based around the background, and it kind of gives you a good little starting point, and it makes things more cohesive. So that's what I would say. It's a silly mistake of cutting yourself on rounded plastic. Yeah, don't do that. Don't cut yourself on rounded plastic. Why don't you switch to using super glue until you're 100% on the parts? Because we don't we don't do that here. It's all or nothing. We dry fit and then we glue. It's permanent. There's no two ways about it. I find that it's like if you have that option, then you don't do it right in the first place. I'm like a tightrope walker who refuses to have a harness. I feel like if I don't have that safety net, if I don't have that fallback, then I'm going to be doing it right the first time. So that's what it is. That's why I don't use super glue as a temporary fix. Although to be fair, the stakes are a lot lower when you're gluing components together than they are like walking between two extremely tall points on a tightrope. Hey Pete, I was wondering, since you do a lot of Warhammer content, how do you avoid burnout? I've been struggling to get back into the hobby. I'm wondering if you might have some tips. The biggest thing for me, I think I have the luxury of this rather more so than other people, is because I have the ability to just flip-flop between lots of different projects. Some people, when they're building an army, they may spend just years working on the same army, and I do not know how they could do it. I don't know how someone could spend... All they do is just paint blood angels, and it's like all you're doing is painting red, you're painting the same models, you're painting... And I couldn't do that personally. Some people can, I can't. But I have that option to go, oh, okay, this week I'm going to do some Grey Knights. This week I'm going to kitbash Keldor Drago. And then the next week I'm going to like, oh, okay, I'm going to do some Custodes, but then I'm going to stick giant distended stomachs on them and make them Nurgle corrupted. And then the week after that I can be like, okay, let's build a giant pirate ship zombie mech. And it's just... That's what allows me, because I can switch between doing Age of Sigmar, 40k... not Necromunda, and then just do basically what I want. That's why I tend to avoid it. It's harder if you don't have that same kind of reason. For me, it's making a video, so I can make that reason. But conversions help. Conversions mean that as you're approaching each project, it becomes its own. You've got to make it a challenge in a way. You've got to make it something a hurdle, and then when you kind of get the satisfaction of completing that challenge. But if you're just painting the same thing over and over again. I'm glad you picked up on that, Yankee. Have you ever considered converting up a 40k Chaos Space Marine Line faction versions of the demons? Oh, hang on. Whoa. Of the demons they can have allied? I'm not sure I understand that question. That could be me being an idiot, so I'm sorry. Any Necromunda stuff in the pipeline. Basically, every time that Yankee asks for Necromunda, I just set the timer back. So it doesn't take long. To pretty much every stream, and then every time he mentions it in the Discord as well, it just gets reset. I think we're currently on about 6 years until we're due to have Necromunda content on the channel, I think. I think that's what the clock's at the moment. Any tips on making Night Lords? Well, I have... I'm going to show you something. This is an extra special thing for being on one of my streams. I like to do these things. I like to give everyone a little bit of a look. So this is a model, and this is a Dead Animal Bits related to Dead Animal Bits, but this is basically something that I've been working on. So this is a Night Lords, and you may notice there's a few little parts on there that are maybe you've not seen before. Maybe. But yeah, that's my tip for Night Lords, basically. What else have we got in here? Oh, we've got something else as well. What's this? There's another little piece here. Look at this. This is another little interesting piece. I wonder where that's come from. I don't know. Yeah, basically, long story short, those are some custom bits that I have had designed and sculpted, and they will be being made in a plastic kit. Fingers crossed. I'm going to put them on Kickstarter, and then if the Kickstarter is successful, they're going to be made as a plastic kit, and it's going to be like lots of different components. Still got a lot of stuff in the pipeline, still working on to get that ready. But yeah, that's just a few of the components, and Night Lord players will be very happy. But yeah, that'll be hopefully the end of this month. It could be later, but yeah, keep an eye out. I'll be putting more stuff up anyway. But it's going to be a plastic kit in the same kind of vein as the Citadel Skulls set, but with lots of different components in there. And it's going to be called Dead Animal Bits as well. Anyway, where were we? Bleeding. That was what we were doing. We're in the middle of this. Right, let's get this guy completely cleaned up a little bit more, actually. Because the thing is, with the Dremel, it's good for getting those initial cuts in, but it doesn't leave a very good finish. So you kind of have to go back and trim everything with your knife then. Right. I'm just going to try this fit again because I just want to make sure that it's the best it could possibly be. So we have a little bit of an edge here. So the thing is about this kind of stuff is it can often look okay when it's plastic, and then as soon as you paint it, it looks awful. So I need to really make sure that it is as smooth as it can be. And those facets get back as well. The lack of Necromunda players disgusts me. I've seen the amount of books that you had to buy for it though. It's probably recently you had so many books. And they did decide to put everything in one box, which is good. Okay. There we go. Cool. Yeah, I think that's actually fitted in really nicely. There's a few little edges that still need to be cleaned up. I'm quite happy with that. I think that was a good idea. Have the big lump of warpstone that sticks in the neck was a great idea. I've gone back again. It was a terrible idea whilst I was struggling to get it fit, but now it is a wonderful idea. Thank you very much, Ferris. Again. It was Ferris. Was it Frexus or Ferris? I can't remember now. I apologise. The whole reason why there aren't as many Necromunda players as there probably should be, because I do think it's an interesting game and models are really cool and the studio that makes everything is really cool. It is, I think the reason why is the same reason why every time Age of Sigmar gets re-released or 40k gets re-released, it gets a little bit more simple, a little bit more straightforward, a little bit more streamlined. So yeah, you don't necessarily have that with Necromunda, and I think that it's kind of a strength though. It's good because it is a bit more complicated, and I think that's what has the appeal for it. But again, I think it loses the mass appeal because it is a bit more of a, to use a phrase I've always heard battered around but never actually used, is a bit more of a beardy kind of game. Like you have to get a little bit more invested in it, a little bit more involved the rules. It's not as kind of pick up and play as like 40k in its current state is, and kind of has been since the end of 8th edition. Pretty much anything made by Forge World is like that, to be honest. I think even something like Blood Bowl, which is essentially from the looks of it, looks like a glorified board game, but that isn't either. So we have a couple of options now. We have this phase, more like just a plain lump, with the kind of like the little cracked bit at the back, or should we put the little cracked bit at the front? What looks better? I'm much worried that this kind of looks like a little bit of a face though. That's the only thing. It's like a little eye there and a little mouth there, just like a little fish face. There we go. It looks like a rat. There we go. Should we put the crack at the back? Is everyone into the back crack? Crack at the back? Is everyone a fan of the back crack? Front crack? Front crack? Back crack? What is it, guys? Is it front crack or back crack? This is the one thing about coming to YouTube that I've missed from Twitter. Is not Twitter. Moving from Twitch to YouTube is that there isn't the poll feature, which is good in one way because it means that Yankee can't abuse it. Actually, is something we can do? Can you do? Am I mistaken, or can you do like little reaction emojis? Is that a thing you can do? It kind of pops up every now and again. Am I mistaken? You can poll here. How do you poll? Yankee, figure out how you poll. Do you have to use like a plugin? Okay, so you can do. I can see the little reactions popping up now. I think we need to design. You can't do polls as a mod. Hang on. I can start a poll. I didn't know that. Okay, right, okay. I didn't know that. It's alright, I've only been on YouTube for about 10 years. But yeah. It's a shame that the mods can't. I quite enjoy the Yankees' little passive-aggressive polls on Twitch. I do miss it. Shows you options one more time. Okay. If anyone's still on the fence, this is front crack, or back crack, as in the cracks at the back. We'll show you the side profiles as well. The one thing about the front crack is it kind of leans forward a little bit more, whereas the back crack is a little bit more upstanding. So I think mainly people going for the back crack. I think. Also, it's got 69 votes. Just saying, just letting people know that for no reason. 71 now. Yankees being twitched for Twitch poll crimes. Hang on, I'm on okay, cool. Yeah, so I think it's pretty close. 43% front crack and then 57% back crack. I really do feel for anyone who's just joined the stream and has no idea what this poll's about. They've just kind of joined it to watch some guy kitbash some Skaven Mechs, and then there's the face of the poll. It says front crack or back crack. I heard the different levels might give you power over the whole channel. I don't know how that works. Yeah, so I think you can basically have managers who are like people who manage your channel. And no offense, Yankee, but I don't think that's a wise thing. He'll just rename all my videos to just Necromunda stuff, and then I'll get a load of people complaining that I'm not doing Necromunda content, even though the videos say Necromunda in the title, in a bid to force me to make Necromunda content. About in the painting phases channel got hacked, and there's like all these like weird kind of mobile game ads getting posted instead, except mine will just be loads of videos saying, right, we're going for Backcrack. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your help. Oh, God, I can't get it out now. Got it. This is it. We're making it permanent. Hopefully I get it the right way around now. There we go. Backcrack was victorious. Congratulations, Backcrack gang. Right. Yeah, cool. So, we've done loads. We've done 2 things so far. We've been an hour and 10 minutes, but we have discussed a lot of things. I haven't actually gone on too much of a tangent, to be fair. We've kept on tangent so far. We've been How do I remove the poll? I'm going to close the poll now. The poll is done. Thank you very much for everyone who participated. I'll give it a face like the plank on Ed, and Eddie. Should have never told you about the secret channel. No. What I should have done is just really pretended that I didn't know where it was and just act like I don't want to know. I just want you to just actually sit in there, just kind of spy on you. Do that thing where like they're kind of when the police infiltrate these gangs and they don't shut them down immediately because they want to see wait until they do something more incriminating so that they can convict them and get as many people in on the conviction as possible. Right, so there we go, guys. Thank you very much for the stream. You've I think all this stuff that we've done. Yeah, there we go. That's it. No, I'm only joking. Let's do the rattling gun. Yeah, let's do that. Actually, we should do the legs probably, shouldn't we? 4 plugged in a Dremel. I did plug in a Dremel. I unplugged something as well, but I wasn't actually sure what it was. So we could have ended the stream right there and then. I think we should go do the legs, which could take me the next hour and 50 minutes. But I tell you what, let's glue one of the guns and then not attach it to the torso just yet. We'll keep it separate, and then at least it gives us an idea of what the gun looks like. I think that's fair. We could attach the flamer weapon as well. There's always an option. There's a couple of options. So, Adamec players, what is better, the heavy phosphor blaster or the Incendine Combustor, or Incendine Combustor? Because that's the options that I've got for I think we can go both ways. We can kind of have 2 different. Because what I like about the Incendine, the heavy phosphor blaster, is the little belt, because then they're really cool, painted up with little warpstone chunks in the front. We have Kabuski and we also have We Paint Minis joining the chat. Hello, well, welcome both of you. So far, you have missed the front crack or back crack gang debate. We settled on back crack gang because I think it does look better. It kind of makes it look a bit more upright. Actually, when I saw the side profile, I was like, it looks a lot better when it's there, to be fair. You asked as you would actually start playing 40k. Well, Yankee, I'm actually doing it. So I'm going into a tournament. I'm going into a kind of like a small kind of private, very exclusive tournament in November, and it's a 40k tournament, and it's like 1-day event, and I've got no 40k army, and I've got no hope of building a 40k army. Fortunately, I built a whole load of World Eaters last year when I got the Age of Darkness box set, and I realised that I can actually run most of those as Firstborn Marines in a Space Marine Force. And I was like, oh yeah, it's cool. I can run my Contemptor as a Contemptor. I can run my Cataphractes as Relic Terminator. It's gonna be cool. I can just run all the regular Marines as TAC Marines. The Spartan Land Raider can run as a Land Raider. Great. It's like 1,500 points there nearly. It's not even secret YouTuber meetup. It's even more exclusive. It's even more. It's not really. Just that I know some people who are running a tournament, and then literally about a week after I'd made this list, Games Workshop decided to remove the Contemptor and the Relic Terminators from the new Space Marine Codex. So it's I'm not sure what to do at this point. I have two options. The one option is to either hope that the way that if you're not aware, the way that the data, the rules are broken up for Space Marines are the Blood Angels, Space Wolves, and that have their own kind of separate rules. So they might still be able to run Relic Terminators and Contemptors, at least for the time being. It might be a case that they're still added as part of the Legends, but they're not in the Codex, but they're still in the app or whatever. So I can either run them as Blood Angels because they're painted as World Eaters. It makes sense. It kind of works well. The alternative is I've realized that I still have this guy to field, and he's like worth 500 points. So the points I'd lose from the Contemptor and the Terminators, I basically get back from this guy. So I'm really tempted just to run this guy with like a bunch of TAC Marines, but I don't know if he's overkill for 1500 points. But we'll see. I think I'm going to need every help I can get, to be fair. Just play Necromunda and get your gangers eating magic mushrooms. Yeah. To be fair, that is one thing. That is, I would say, one thing that really appeals to me about Necromunda is that there is a much smaller model count. You can get away with like a fairly small gang of models, and you don't need to worry too much. Where did we go? About what did we say? I'm going to make another poll. Why not? Oh, what was this? You can answer Q&A. Start a Q&A. Answer viewer questions live. What's that do? Oh, do I just answer people? Or do people... I don't even know how to use all of this stuff. Anyway, right. Okay, let's do a poll. We're going to go for... Should I go for the Heavy Phosphor Blaster, which is kind of like more of a straightforward machine gun, or should I go for the Combustor, which is obviously a flamer weapon? So, we're going to do another poll, because why not? Do both. Kill Team is great for that. Yeah, I mean, I do need to probably do a bit more. I want to do magnets. Nah, I don't need magnets. I've got to paint more stuff if I use magnets. That's the trouble. Whilst the poll runs, what I am going to do is remove the parts that go into making one of the arms, which are actually not too many parts. I thought there'd be more parts. So it's an arm and then the two parts of the gun. That's surprisingly few parts for a Games Workshop kit. What side should we go for? What looks better? Right arm gun? Left arm power fist? Yeah, I think so. Right arm gun. Right, which way is this now? Right arm gun is 10 and 9. 10 and 9, perfect. So I'm just going to click these away whilst that poll runs, and then once we've decided on which option to go for, then we can make a start on the back gun. Mainly because the legs are going to be pretty boring, I think. The main fun's going to be in the weapons, and then the extra details we're going to add. What are we on? Poll. It's pretty much even. I'm sure this is people are just doing this to wind me up now. Looking at the article, I would argue that Contemptor should be viable under the new Dreadnought profile, and the Relic Terminators can 100% be matched up against the new Terminator profile. My only problem with that is I've actually built the Terminators with a kind of a mixture of lightning claws and non-lightning claws. So the only way I could do it is if I ran, I think I can just about do it if I ran one squad as regular Terminators and I ran the other squad as assault Terminators. I think that's the only way I could get away with it. Warhammer Community did an article during the whole Legends thing where they gave us essentially carte blanche to say to proxy 30k stuff as 40k equivalent. I really don't know why they just didn't make rules for the 30k stuff, because the 30k kits are just so much cooler than the 40k stuff. They really are. And if anyone can link that article, I'd be pretty interested to have a read of it, because I don't think I saw it. What have we got? So yeah, the poll was kind of pointless in the end because it's kind of like 51%, 49%. Lightning Claw because Power Fist or do them as 2 squads. I think I'm going to go for... But I have a proper scaled assault Termi kit. 30k claws are nearly identical to just brutal Power Fist. I guess so. The only thing is just the paired, aren't they? That's the thing. How about Warcry? I don't know actually. I've never tried a Warcry. I think I've played Kill Team. Like I've had a demo game of Kill Team. That was fun. I enjoyed that, and I would happily play it again. But I just don't have time for games. To be honest, that's the trouble. I think I end up just spending too much time building stuff rather than actually playing the games, which is fun. But I do want to play them more. And like I said, I've got this tournament in November something. Middle of November, so we'll see. Right, what did I go for? Right arm. These are actually quite simple to put together. I genuinely thought these would be made of more parts than they actually are. That's like really, really simple put together. But can this rotate? A little bit, not too much. Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, we can definitely Skaven that up a bit. I think, first things first, we're going to get rid of this. We're going to swap it around with the Assault Cannon. And then... yeah, cut that off, replace it with Assault Cannon. I can probably do some other stuff as well. I'm going to dip into... before I settle on that, let's dip into the Skaven kit and see if we can see anything interesting we can attach to that. So the gun poll were kind of pointless. I think my my power, the power of the poll, it wasn't. It lost. It's run out now. It's gone. There were saying several armies within the Horus Heresy era models that are older marks of contemporary 140k units. Yeah, there are. I think the bike units are like really cool, but I mean, you can only run Outriders now, and it's just like. Is there a Kitbash you have always wanted to do but so far not done? So the only one that I can think, and there is somebody in my comment section who pretty much comments every single day asking me to do a Tiberius the Red Wake, and I would love to, but I just don't know how I can do it. I've seen people who've used the Abaddon model as a basis, and I think that's a pretty good idea. He's a big guy, and that model can definitely be trimmed back and smoothed out and have more of a regular kind of smoother armor. But then I just don't know how to do his claws, and the old Tiberius the Red Wake hands just don't. You can't get the Tiberius the Red Wake model anymore, and those power fists are very, very specific. And if I can't do those, I don't think I can do the model justice. I just don't know. It's not necessarily that I haven't got the resources or it's a really big kit bash. It's just I don't know how to approach it. So, yeah. Right, okay. Skaven bits, that's what we're going to do. I have all these spears. Look at those. Those are pretty cool. From the Doom Wheel. Some pretty cool little mechanical parts in there. Little tanks and things like that. I quite like these little things. The little warpstone bits from the Storm Fiends. Doom Wheel's very cool for these little kids. Look at those. They're really cool. So I'm not really sure what I'm after. I want the gun. Let's have a look. Let's go off on a side tangent because we always know that that's the best thing to do. Firefox. There we go. Perfect. Right. We're going to look at Skaven models because looking at the sprues is kind of being a bit of a... I'm not really getting anywhere with it. I want to look at some of the weapon teams really because I think that's where we're going to find the most interesting stuff. Although the weapon teams are very, very old. Look at that. That model is so old. It's amazing that it's still going and they're still trying to charge £13 for it. For that. Wow. There's nothing better than, I think, in terms of the Skaven range though, is this guy £13 for that. No wonder it's in stock, because who was buying them? Who was buying that? For £13 you get a single model. The blister contains one variant on a 32mm base. Oh dear. They're not bad sculpts, to be honest. Don't look terrible. They're just expensive for what they are. I think those models are older than me. Yeah, I think these models themselves look pretty good. The rattling gun, not so much, but these guys look pretty good. But yeah, the price is far, far, far too high for what they are. The Warp Grinder's a newer edition. This is much better. This is much more like it. I mean, that you wouldn't mind paying £13 for as much because it's definitely a newer design. Fits much more cleanly with the new ranges of stuff. But that and the Warp Fire Thrower. The one thing which kind of disappointed me with a lot of this is just even the Warlock Engineers. Those guys are old. They're incredibly old. They're characterful models. So this little guy just reloading his pistol. And then you've got these guys, and then you kind of look at those and like, oh, look how cool these are. Such cool models. And then you look at... Yeah. That's a cool model, though. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I'm trying to look for ideas. So yeah, it kind of has this almost... There's lots of these tanks. There's lots of excessive power cable use, I think. We're going to look at probably the engineers. That's probably the best thing to look for. There was a purpose for me to come onto the website. Yeah, this is really cool. I like these kind of... We might need to dip in. I don't have my Carriage and Overlords. That's really disappointing. What do I have to hand? I have... Admech. No, that's Agents of the Imperium. Oh, and in answer to the question that was answered, is there any kit bashes you want to do but haven't done yet? This. I would love to build an updated version of this. I have no idea where I'd start, obviously with Dreadnought legs, but I don't... Yeah. It's just cool. It's just a cool model. It's such a 40k model. If you wanted to sum up what 40k is as a concept in a single model, I would say this is. You've got a little guy with a scroll, because why not? He's just writing stuff down. You've got a servitor. You've got an old guy with a beard and a big sword. And then you've got for no apparent reason, just a giant marble throne walking around on giant robot legs with fire that close to parchment. It just is the perfect embodiment of everything that's 40k, in my opinion. Anyway, I was looking at add mech. What do I have? I have all my add mech stuff to hand, so anything that's in these I can probably use. At least the Skaven range isn't 9% out of production like any other fantasy army getting into AOS. I think there's going to be a few improvements. I think as soon as the old world comes out, there's going to be high elves are coming back, possibly wood elves. A lot of stuff's going to come back, I reckon. Force-K really does have a load of stuff that can be described as a church on mech legs. Yeah. So the only thing is, I do have lots of Karamazov, Ballistus Dreadnought, Inquisitorial Agents, and Exorcist Control State. Yeah, you know, you're pretty right, actually. I think if you break it down into that, I am getting off tangent now, but I'm trying to think about it now. Oh yeah, maybe we should do this. Let's just nip up to Element Games and grab some bits. Exorcist, not on this page. I thought I'd driven past it. Yeah, you can pretty much base it on like the Immolator or the Exorcist. Kind of has that vibe, doesn't it? I mean, the other option is the Pulpit from the other Sisters of the Battle character who's kind of floating around. It's an option feature. Right, I'm still looking for Skaven parts, to be honest. Just getting sidetracked again. Right. We definitely need some more Skaven parts, because at the moment we've just stuck a hunk of warp rock into a torso and are calling it a Skaven mech. It's not. Let's clean this up. Let's at least get the gun on there, because I think sometimes with kit bashes and stuff like that, you can get to a certain point where you almost get kind of, what's the word now? Decision fatigue? Decision paralysis? That's it, decision paralysis. That's what I'm looking for. You get lots of choices and it's hard to figure out something. So I'm going to just make a start on this gun first, and then we can go from there. Just realised I'm not actually filming on tabletop there again. Just clean these up, and then I'm going to remove that barrel and then replace it with one of the rotor cannons. Because I've had that rotor cannon kit for so long, because I thought, oh, I'm going to use those rotor cannons. They're going to be really useful. I'm actually going to glue this together first, because it will mean I can get a better cut. So we need to glue this arm, but I'm not going to actually glue the arm in place. I'm going to keep the rotation, and then if I need to move it around later on, I can do. I won't have the same problem as earlier, and just not be able to adjust something when I need to. Okay, let's a little bit more. Once this is done, I'll glue this together and then attach the rotary cannon. But I won't attach this to the arm just yet. I think I'm not going to get a chance to build the legs this evening. If I sat down and just concentrated on it, I could do, but then it just is literally just watching a guy scrape plastic for another hour and a half, which I don't think is interesting. Maybe it is. Maybe that's the kind of thing you enjoy. But I think it's much more interesting if I actually start doing some kit bashing and converting rather than just following the instructions, because no one tunes into my channel for me to do that. Okay, place this in the arm. There we go. And then glue these two pieces together. Let that hold. Got any kit bashes planned for Halloween, Pete? No, I've got some things planned for Halloween, but no kit bashes. The stuff that I hinted at earlier is probably going to be close to Halloween release, I think. Makes sense. Great Mountain Harbour's Wraithguard guns would be very Skaven appropriate when paired with warpstone, adding in assault cannons or rotor cannons from the various Space Marine bits. Yeah, that's not a bad shot, actually. Let's have a quick look. Whilst we wait for this to dry, let's quickly jump on this again. And yeah, I think you're right, actually. The last kit bashing stream that I did the Wraithguard, actually. So, where are we? Eldari. Where are we, Eldari? Wraithguard. Speaking of old, just scroll past the old striking scorpions there. I think the warp spiders are the oldest, aren't they? This is an old kit as well. I'm surprised this hasn't been replaced. Games Workshop website keeps crashing out on me. Click view all. That's easier. I think those are quite old. These are a bit newer. I think these were like re-released at some point. And the Warwalker still looks derpy as hell. Just my opinion. These are pretty old. As are they. What I'm even looking for now, Wraithguard. I've just scrolled past them. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I think the weapons. If you were to take some of these like ranged weapons and you have these kind of bulbous shapes that you could probably quite easily use as tanks and stuff like that for Wraithguard. Yeah, it's a good idea. And all these little bits as well. Good suggestion. Carriage and Overlords are good as well. They have lots of stuff that you can use. Right. Okay, that's done. So let's clip away. Let's go back to tabletop. There we go. And then I'm going to clip away this. And then if I smooth this flat now, we should get a flat surface. And yeah, normally I would say do these kind of adjustments before you glue anything together. And the good thing about doing this after you've glued it is because you can get a cleaner cut. And it's like a flatter cut as well. Because it cuts completely flat across both surfaces. And if I did that before, I could maybe go at an angle either way. So yeah, sometimes it's better to cut after you've assembled. Please do a non-chaos Lehman Russ. I would like to do some non-chaos Primarchs, but the thing is the kits aren't necessarily as... They're just not as many there. Like, I was surprised I was able to pull off the Lion into Conrad Kurz, but I don't know if I could get away with doing much else because where are those gone now? I've lost the rotor cannons. I had 2 sprues of them. Got them. So the Gilman kit is actually not that easy to convert because his armor is so ornate. You'd need to do a lot of trimming back to get it as smooth as possible. To do anything with it. So you'd have to break it all back down, take all the detail off it, and then build up all that detail again. It's not impossible, but it's just a lot of work. The chaos stuff is always easier because you can kind of work with that aspect. Right, so I'm going to follow this line here and cut directly down there. It's quite useful using these as a guide just because it gives you a bit more of a vertical cut. If there's something you can kind of press the blade against as you do so. Nearly there. There we go. So there we go. So this should, with a little trimming, further trimming, fit quite nicely in there. A little bit more of a ratty look. I'm not sure. Should I remove this little targeting section? Do we need to get rid of that as well? Chaos seems more fun. That's because it is. Chaos is a lot more fun to build. It's also easier as well, which kind of feeds into that fun thing because sometimes when stuff is tricky, it can get to the point where it's... Tricky stuff's good. Tricky stuff is fun to take on, but not when it gets to the point where it's just frustrating and you just get bored and you get fed up with it. Fog Battleship Warspite. Oh, I can't wait to get my hands on some of the newer Mark III Space Marines. Well, this is why a few people have been asking me. I've seen a few comments popping up on my Horus Heresy Legion series. People saying, "Oh, have you given up with this? You're not doing it anymore." It's just like I've just been waiting for the new Mark III kits to come out, to be honest, to do anything else with them. Because the thing is, it's like so many of the Legions just look better in Mark III than they do in Mark VI. Because so what did I do so far? So I did Dark Angels, works quite well for Mark VI. Emperor's Children, again, works quite well for Mark VI. Iron Warriors, I would have preferred to have Mark III, but I got away with Mark VI. White Scars, again, Mark VI works pretty well for them. And then the next one is Space Wolves, and then the one after that was Imperial Fist. So I thought, well, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till Mark III gets released. And this was like back in when they were teased so long ago. And I thought it's going to be Mark III or Mark II or something like that. So I was like, I'll wait. So once those new kits have been released and I've got my super secret project out of the way, I will be back doing the Horus Heresy Legion series with Space Wolves and then Imperial Fist and then whoever's after that. Can't remember now. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to have the Mark III before I kind of carried on with it, because I wanted to just have a little bit of variation in the units, and I think some legions just look better with certain armors. Raven Guard definitely look better in Mark VI than they would do Mark III, but Death Guard will look better in Mark III. Word Bearers probably get away with Mark IV, as would Thousand Suns. I think I would, not Mark IV, Mark VI. I think I would do Mark VI for Thousand Suns, personally. Sorry, I keep looking up over there. Just realised I'm just looking at the 4 models that I've done. I've got the cabinets. You can't see them, but like in the cabinet, there's 4. So there's this one here, and then there's one there, and there's one above it over to that corner. And the 4 legions that I've done so far in there with the intention of, once I've done all of them, all 18, they'll all be in that cabinet, and I've only got 4 in there for the time being, so I definitely do need to do more, because I've got a display cabinet that's mostly empty, just waiting for me to do 14 more videos, and that's why I haven't given up on it, because they are literally in a display cabinet just waiting to be done again. Right, I need to get a flatter file, I think. I give my left kidney for true scale Mark V models. Yeah, Mark V would be pretty cool. The one thing that I'm quite pleased at the moment, they seem to be really keeping up with the Horus Heresy stuff, and I'm really glad about it. I think the only way they could really do better with that kind of stuff is if they had more options for 40k, because they're such cool models, and it's I know you can use like proxies and stuff like that, but it's not quite the same, is it? You want to use your actual Legion special units and stuff like that, but yeah, it is what it is. Just trying to make this as flat as possible, really, just because you can see there's a slight angle, so it's kind of tilting down, so I want to get it as flat there as possible. It doesn't matter if this little lower section's overhanging, but the top definitely needs to be as flush against that surface as it can be. Please revisit Iron Warriors when Mark III drops. I shall revisit them once I've gone through all of the all of the legions and done all of them. I think if I started to revisit certain legions before I'd done other ones, I think some people would be very unhappy. But yeah, like I said, I think out of the ones I've done so far, I think Iron Warriors are probably the only ones which are the most unusual for a Mark 6 armor. I think a lot of the other ones make much more sense. Like, I'm not even talking from like the historic point of view, where you look at that, or which legions actually had access to the armor, although that's been like retconned quite a bit by now. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, so I'll keep that as is. I mean, oh, there you go. Don't need to glue it. Keep it like that. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is the gun. I'm just going to pick myself because it was pretty much 50-50. Yeah, it was 50-50 by the poll ended. I don't think I've seen anyone do Ultramarines in Mark 3. I don't think I've seen them either. Because when they definitely exist, I've seen them in the past. I don't think I've ever seen any conversion. I think they're the kind of guys who they're one of the chapters that looks better in the smoother armors, so like Mark 4, Mark 6, things like that. Okay, yeah, quite happy with it so far. I didn't get too far with this. I wasn't expecting to get completely done with this, but maybe would have liked to get a little bit further than I did, but you know. Best laid plans and all that. Let's go for the combustor. I'm laying down the law. We're going for the combustor, so we need parts 48, 46, and 47. So 48, 47, and also the other one. Was it 46 or 49? 46. There, the bracket. And I'll also need the canister from the back as well. 20. So I think if I was going to do this as like a full video, just kind of clarify what I do, I'd probably carry on what I'm doing so far, keep this. I quite like the idea of a little rattling gun, that makes sense. The warpstone head, I like that idea. It's going to make it look different, slightly different weapon on the back. And I think what I'm going to do really is probably go a lot more heavy with the stuff on the front here, because if you look at I haven't actually got it to hand. Let's get the video up just so people who haven't seen the video know what I'm talking about. YouTube. So yeah, if you haven't seen this, this is a video I did coming to a year ago now. When was it released? Was it before Christmas? 1st of January. Wow, I did it this year. I thought I did it longer than that ago. So let's get the spinny finish shot. So, yeah. If we have a look at the finished one. So it's pretty much mostly AdMech parts with a few, obviously, Necromunda bits thrown in, Votan torso. Hang on. AdMech parts, Necromunda bits, and then... But it's just been based around this kind of different torso, with this different kind of main structure of the body, which makes everything that much... Why have I not got any, like... There we go, that's a better picture. So yeah, you can see how the bottom half is just straight up AdMech stuff. That's a really wonky bit. Well, that looks perfectly straight when I was building it. And then this is literally just a canister. And then if you look at some of the parts here that you can see in the spinning shot, these just little gubbiny bits that were just spare parts from the AdMech kit, so I just glued them on. So I think that's probably where I would go with that. Maybe add a few more armor plates. Let's see, I do have my ash waste box. Let's see if there's anything in the ash waste box, because this is all my parts for Necromunda scenery, basically. And as you can see, there's some really cool parts in here. Let me put this on tabletop so you can see. Now these are the hab modules, so you've got like these like really big tops, you've got these bars, just stuff like this is just cool. Like just stick that on a model and it makes such a difference. Lots of like mechanical stuff, and I feel like this aesthetic, like the Necromunda stuff, works incredibly well with Skaven, because it's kind of like, it's techy, but it's also a bit janky at the same time. So yeah, Yankee, there you go. I've featured Necromunda on the channel again, so you can be happy about that. I don't even know what kit this is from. What is that kit? Look, I never realised what this is. This is the Necromunda barriers, I think? Defensive barriers? Yeah, it's definitely Necromunda. Those are Necromunda guns there. I never knew what this was. That's the first time I feel like I've ever seen that. Oh, it comes out of there, of course. It's a little like great. Okay. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I told you I'd get Necromunda content in here somehow. I don't know what you're complaining about. You're always complaining about no Necromunda stuff on the channel. Here I am, Necromunda bits box, just... So I actually have some of the vehicles. I'm going to grab one of the vehicles. I think it's in another cupboard, so bear with me. Okay, Promethean Tanks Refueling Station. This is another really cool kit. So this is what I based the Skaven Mech thing on. So yeah, you can see a few little bits and bobs that I used from that. So I'm probably just going to reuse like that. Little armored sections, those are really cool. Yeah, lots of options. So that's the plan really, just to try and use as many of these extra sections as possible to fill out those. How many tanks do you get in this? You get 4 tanks. Okay, that's interesting. I thought you only got... What? Oh yeah, 4 Promethean tanks. So I was under the impression that this box only came with what is on the back of the box. You got those and then those, but you actually get 4 of those, not 2 of those. So it's an even better deal. I just discovered I've got 2 free Promethean tanks. Oh, that's even better. Trying to figure out what parts I can use from this that look cool. I quite like that. I don't know how cost effective that would be to spread across a full army, but I actually really do like that armored set. Can you see it? Can you see what I'm doing? Does that make sense? Can I have like 10% of your bits? The thing is, when it's your job, it's kind of like, it uses a good excuse to buy Warhammer, to be honest, and just say, oh, I'll use it eventually. I'll use it eventually. What do you think? What do you think of this? It kind of fits. If I go back to the video, you can see that I'd actually used this on that previous video. think I quite like the... You see how I've got this kind of armored section at the front? Just break up the front a little bit. It kind of breaks up the profile, and that's more than anything what I wanted to do. I think if you break up the silhouette of a model and you make it look different, its kind of silhouette change, you can really change how the model looks. I'm just going to take this off for the sprue for now, because I'd probably trim down the struts a little bit, but I think it gives it a bit more of a... It actually fits really nicely. Look, it kind of follows the shape of the armor a little bit. If you cut the top bar off, it could work. Cut that bit off? I think quite like that. How do you decide what kits you buy for the purpose of bits? Do you just grab one of everything and use the leftovers from the kits Games Workshop sends you to build? Pretty much, yeah. I don't always buy everything unless I actually have a use for it, but sometimes that I'll know that there'll be a kit which will have a really useful array of components in there. So like Mark III, I know straight away that Mark III will always be useful. So there'll be loads of components in those kits, so they're going to be really useful. Anything which is like a scene, the Necromunda scenery kits are great. I pretty much pick up every single one of those just because they are so useful. Most Necromunda kits I pick up because they have some really cool parts in there as well. I will have to just do a video of my garage, because it pretty much is just shelves full of grey plastic boxes full of grey plastic. Pete, what do you like about Necromunda bits? Yeah, pretty much. I'm quite happy with that one. I'm going to keep that to one side. That's like there's a few other little ladders and things actually on here that could also work. So those are other options. I actually wish I'd used that on the tank, the big mech. I think that would have looked a lot better across the front than what I went for. But you live and you learn. I'm just looking at these bits. I'm just kind of this is what most of my outside of YouTube time is spent doing, just looking at sprues going, I could use this for that, I could use this for that. And this is pretty much what it ends up being, just me literally looking at a sprue and kind of sizing components up and seeing what would work where and how well things would work. These work really well as guns, by the way. Those look really cool mounted on as weapons and things like that. Anyway, so there is... I don't actually have any... I think the kits that are in the garage, so I can't use them. But let's have a quick look at what I could have used if I had had better forethought. Forethought, that's the word I'm looking for. And so if I go to Box Games, Necromunda. This is the thing, I probably, as someone who isn't a Necromunda player, I probably have as many Necromunda parts and kits as an actual avid Necromunda player does. I mean, this kit in general is just such a cool kit. There's just loads of cool stuff. Even just these, like the little copula things that come with the upgrade kits for these, they're just really cool kits. The designers behind Forge World, Horus Heresy, all them, they are, I would say, they're some of the best designers in Games Workshop, hands down. I don't actually have these kits to hand, unfortunately, but there's so much cool stuff on there. Look, it's just like guys and loads of torsos, weapons, pipes, cables, handles, roll bars, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, I don't actually. I've got one in the garage, but I don't actually have one. I was hoping I had one of these with the trailers in, because the trailers come with lots of cool parts as well. Yeah, you can see all the handles and cables and stuff that they come in with. Even these, even just the wheelbases. I pile my sprues on the dinner table and build a fort whilst looking at them, whilst deciding which bits would work best. Pretty much that's what happens here. So I have a box here that I've just got out my cupboard. I have a pile of sprues there. I have another pile of sprues there from something I was working on earlier. I have 4 of my... So these are my boxes, by the way, that I have in the garage, and these are like full of sprues. I ordered... How many did I order? Let's go back to Tabletop and Face. Just going to have a look at... So, I ordered 20 of those boxes originally, and I didn't have enough. So, I then ordered another 30, and I still don't have enough. I've literally got 50 of those boxes, those 9-litre useful boxes, just sat in the garage on shelves, stacked up, full of sprues. I still haven't got them. So each box is basically catered for each army. So I have all of, like, for example, Astra Militarum. All Astra So I've got like 2 boxes of Astra Militarum stuff and 2 or 3 boxes, I think. They're just all in there. And then, yeah. It's much easier once everything is grouped in an army box, because I can just go and grab it. But yeah, I do have... It's a good job this is my job, because if it wasn't, I'd need to be in therapy for something. Okay, right. Where were we? Okay, so I was thinking about putting this on here. I quite like the look. It gives it a bit more of like a heavy weapon kind of vibe. Not heavy weapon, like heavy equipment vibe. Like it's a metal equipment. It's kind of strange. I'm not sure. Maybe the other way would look better. I don't know. That's an option. It's an option for when it was, if I was to ever finish building this. Maybe we'll continue this on the next stream. I don't know. We'll see. By next week, I could have a different idea that I want to try out. Okay, there we go. Try and actually build as much of this model as we can on this video, and then hopefully if I come back to it, we have a little bit more space to play around with. But yeah, like I said, I think if I was to ever run these as an army, or even if I don't ever have any intention of running them as an army myself, because I know I will never build enough of them, I always try to build stuff with the intention that if someone were to follow the guides and were to build stuff themselves and want to actually kind of follow the guide and build something of their own, they would have... How's that going now? Okay. They would have a basis that they could look at, and they could say, okay, I'm going to base this on AdMech, and then I can use these forces in my games then. So yeah, even though I have no intention probably of building a force of this anytime soon, because I've actually got to build a force and potentially... So actually, going back to my previous thought, and I will get back to the thought I was just on, I still do need to build some special weapon guides for my world eaters. So I might do those on a stream just because it's a good way of making sure I do some painting by doing it on a stream. Although saying that, every time I've tried to paint my raptors on stream when I was on Twitch, I would just get distracted and talk about biscuits. So it's not as good a motivator as you think. But anyway, what I was saying was, yeah, with these guys, I think they need to be recognizable as Cataphron, because if you Cataphron or Castellan, what are these? Castellan. These still need to be recognizable as Castellan, because then if anyone does decide to build them as to use in a game, they do need to have something which is rules friendly, basically. Okay. You know, it would be awesome, a Skaven Knight. Maybe the Skaven hijacked the Knight and they took it over. I think that'd be cool. I think you could do some cool stuff with the Knight kits, because you have all of that. The only real thing of the Knight kit that's that Knight aspect is the armor panels. Everything else is very heavily mechanical. Very, like, if you look at the one that I did, the Cerastus Knight. Before I added the armor panels to that, it just looks like it could be anything, really. It could be, it's very generic until you add those armor panels, and that's what gives it the more specific flair, either a knight or chaos or whatever you want, really. Skaven. Okay, so is that everything? Oh, the tank as well. They are BTRSs sending the meth warpstone robot. They come in pairs as well. So what my idea was with this would be to have these guys as like mechs, and then have the data smith. I think is this a data smith that's with them? The little guy that's with them. Have that model as the Skaven guy, and then that would help as a squad. It would add that Skavenicity. That's the word I'm quoting for this stream. The Skavenicity sounds like Scrantonicity from The Office, actually. Now I'm just in my head rewriting the words to Roxanne by the Police, but with warpstone instead of Roxanne. You don't have to put on the green light. Warp light, there you go. You don't have to put on the warp light. Warpstone. Okay, so the idea with this was, back at the beginning of the stream when things were going well, was to add some little warpstone crusty bits to the end. So I think I'm just going to make my own, actually. Rather than using the bits that I was planning on using, I'm just going to show you how easy it is to make warpstone by hand. First of all, you get a length of sprue that is longer than you need it to be. And then you get your knife and you whittle into a rough, pointed shape. Like that. And you want to get those nice kind of flat facets if you can. And let's keep going until you have kind of like a rough point like that. You can see the different like facets and stuff. I want to try and remove as much of this rectangular shape as possible, so I might need to cut off those edges. And then you start to kind of cut in that way if you want to make it more of like a rounded stone. So you start to keep cutting in. You can see how it starts to like narrow in like that. good thing about this is your fingers actually stay right out of the way, and by making it longer than you need, you can make it as long as you need if you really wanted to go super safe. But you start chipping in, and you start to create the other side of the point then. But the principle remains the same. You kind of have a nice little, hard to see on the camera, but you have this like nice little chunk of warpstone at the end then, and it's really easy to make. It's like super duper easy to make. Warpstone is of this size. If you're into anything bigger, it's a little bit harder. But yeah, I'm basically just going to cut that off, stick that in the end, and then, to be honest, actually, let's look at this differently. How can we make this a bit better? Warpstone at the end looks good, but I kind of feel like we need more warpstone. I'm tempted just to put some down the side, actually. Maybe do 2 of these, pop them either side to kind of counteract the canister. Let's clean this up a little bit. Let's do 1, and then I might just go for that idea. So there you go. If you learn nothing else from this stream, you now know how to whittle sprue down into rough warpstone shapes. So there you go. My job done. My job is done here. Got to be how they make them back in the day, yeah, probably. Any recommendations for making librarian dreadnoughts but bigger than the box dread? Are you talking about Primaris scale? Is that what you're looking for? Because that's a bit trickier, that one is. Not impossible. I think the main problem you're going to have is that kind of faceplate if you want to have that kind of psychic hood look. I'm trying to think what you could use for the basis for it. It's hard. Well, actually, thinking about it, because if you use the basis of the newer dreadnoughts, they have the kind of stuff that lifts up, and the bit in the middle is more of like a standard sarcophagus, like dreadnought sarcophagus shape. So you could probably swap out the one from the Blood Angels kits, and then use that as like a center point. I think that'd work. You could do that. Let's just check. Okay, right. Okay, so let's do the chaplain. Thank you very much. Space rats, space rats, space rats, space rats. Yes, yes. It's like a haiku. Good evening, Bursky. Right, so I think if I think 2 of these would look pretty good, to be honest. So soon if you want to kind of have like more of a chunk of warpstone, so you just kind of cut that section there. And to be honest, you can just keep whittling down until you get like hardly any plastic, and it just makes like a really nice like sharp point. But for me, I'm just going to cut it there and then pop it on the side, so it kind of looks like it's being funneled into the gun. I reckon, some say it's a 45-degree angle from the top. I think so. I think I quite like that look. So it's kind of slightly poking out the side there. Yeah, I like that. Let's go for it. Let's get the clippers, and where are the clippers? There. Clip that. There we go. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And we're going to flatten this out here. I think 2 of these will fit nicely. I think popping it at the back looks good. Maybe we could do that as well, but it seems like overkill, that does. But I think attaching them at the sides, it kind of gives the idea of the weapon being more than just like a regular bog standard flame, especially if when it's painted, it'll look much more like there's something else going on, which is exactly what we want. And the thing is as well, it goes back to what I was saying about breaking up the profile. The more you break up the kind of the silhouette of the model, the more it diverges from the original, which is ideal. So yeah, we just need to whittle another little bit, so we need some more sprue. Let's get a big bit of sprue. Thoughts about the Sons of Malice. So those are the kind of the half black and white, kind of half black, half white coloured Chaos Space Marines, right? Aren't they? I'm getting confused. Yeah. So, people have asked me this before in the past, and kind of how they kind of have this like duality thing, don't they? It's like it's like an interesting take on the Chaos Gods, where you're not necessarily just sticking to the usual 4 Chaos Gods. It's a bit more of a slightly different angle to it, which I quite like the idea of. I quite like the idea of focusing on more minor Chaos Gods for like Chaos Space Marine conversions. But it's always hard. It's hard to get that kind of concept across in a model form, because, I mean, this is why they end up being... I mean, I need to probably re-familiarize myself with their background, but isn't the whole kind of thing about duality of stuff, like law and chaos and good and evil in balance, like a bit like a yin-yang thing? Is that me forgetting the lore that I read a long time ago, or is that the basic gist of it? Is it like Two-Face? Is it basically just like Two-Face, the Legion? Flip a coin each day, yeah. Just flip a coin. Are we traitors or are we loyalists today? Flip the coin. Oh, we're loyalists. Okay. They're the formal version of the meme Alpha Legion, yeah. So I vaguely remember, yeah, and I think the only it's a concept that's hard to kind of put across, and the only thing I can kind of get my idea across would be to have, I know it sounds, so if you remember the what's his name now, Tommy Lee Jones' portrayal of Two-Face, and obviously a lot of the other ones, but how like his suit was like, one side was like a nice and pristine suit, and the other side was like all ripped and torn and stuff like that. And I always quite like the idea of having one side of the armor which is like really nice and pristine, and like someone said in the artwork, one side's traitor, one side's not. And I think you could do some really cool stuff by having one side almost kind of completely destroyed. I think from a visual point of view, I think that would make them interesting, but I think it wouldn't go much further than just having kind of black and white painted models on a tabletop. I think from a distance they would just look like black and white painted models, and then obviously when you look closer you would see that the black parts are maybe the damaged parts, or you could go the opposite direction and have the white parts be the damaged parts and the black parts be the pristine parts. So yeah, it's hard to know. I think they don't necessarily have a spectrum of aesthetics about them where the other gods have. They have, like, if you think of Khorne, yeah, you have the skulls for the skull thrower and blood for the blood, blah blah blah, but then you also have that kind of thing of like pride and martial prowess and almost even like honor those all things fit into the aspect of Khorne. So you can kind of draw on those for a lot of those things. So you can have the brutality of him, but then you can also have just like loads of bones and skulls and stuff like that, which don't necessarily, they gel together, but they're not the exact same thing. Nurgle, you can have things like, you can have disease and decay, but then you can also have growth and life and stuff like that. These things you can have copies of. Slanesh, again, excess, gluttony, all these things, aspects, you pretty much, most of the 7 deadly sins you can just incorporate into them. In Tzeentch, you just stick eyes and tentacles on everything. So when you have the gods, which are the more minor chaos gods, they tend to be more of a focused one thing, and it's much harder to present that kind of aspect on a model than it is maybe like Khorne or Tzeentch or Nurgle or Slanesh, anything like that. Chaplain, thank you very much again. Got to mount sub to your channel for the Raptors. Glad they came back. Hope to see more in the future. You will, yes. I will definitely be doing more Raptors content in the future. As soon as those scouts are getting released, they're definitely going to get some more. I'm going to get some scouts in my Raptors. But yeah, I'll definitely do some more. The one thing that the Sons of Malice do have is cannibalism that makes a Khorne worshipper blush. That's interesting, yeah. I'd ask for Emperor's Children Kitbash, but it would probably get you demonetized. I think this is the thing. Sometimes when I get stuff like that with the Emperor's Children, I would be thinking, how can I do Emperor's Children that fits in the theme, but isn't your usual kind of, oh, let's just make him just put whips and chains on him kind of thing. And one idea that I have had is to kind of have that aspect of, I forget his name, he's the Hedonites of Slanesh main character. He's the big kind of fat guy. I forgot what his name is. His name's like probably like Gluttox or Gluttus Maximus, I don't know. Anyway, whatever his name is. And I really like the idea of having just some sort of overweight Space Marine, like ridiculously so, to the point where he's just Gluttos or Scullion. Yeah, I just love the idea of having almost like a Plague Marine, like the weight and kind of size of a Plague Marine, but actually everything's like clean and pristine. It's not all pockmarked and teeth and everything like that. He's just the guy who just enjoys eating food, basically, over the top. Tiny feet though, yeah, gotta have tiny feet. Maybe little tiny cloven hooves, maybe. Yeah, I quite like that idea. I've been kind of playing with that idea for a while, but never really got around to it. Make a clone Grim Kitbash. I always get suggestions for this, but I never really know much about the background of cloned Fulgrim. I know it was it's a clone of Fulgrim. Was it done by Fabius Bile, if I'm not mistaken, or was that before him? Polnek, good Raptor video today, and idea with the next Horus Heresy videos coming out. You just missed it. Earlier I was talking about it. Basically, I was waiting for the Mark III kits to get released. As soon as they get released, I will be doing some bits with them. I don't know when. I won't be doing them immediately upon release, but once they have been out for a while. I've got a few more projects, but probably fingers crossed for November. I definitely have something in November, video in November. So yeah, fingers crossed we'll have something. Fabulous Bill. But yeah, there will be some stuff. I'll be continuing with the next Legion, which is Space Wolves, and then Imperial Fists, then fairly shortly after, probably. Anyway, right, let's finish off this gun and then get this mounted onto the model. I think that's what we need to do, at least for this stream. Okay, let's clip that away. I should make this as a YouTube short. I feel like it's such an easy little technique, but incredibly useful to anyone who wants to make like crude crystals and warpstone and like that, anything like that. And because warpstone is just green, you just paint it green when you've done, and then it looks like warpstone. And then pop a bit more glue on the bottom. A bit too much glue, but we can fix that. Now, I need to make sure I get this the right way around now before I do anything else. That way. Okay, and then a bit more glue on here, and then we have another weapon. Let's spin that a tiny bit around this way, just to move it away from there. Yeah, so just use your rest of your imagination to figure out the rest of the guy. There we go. So imagine he's got legs, and imagine he's got other stuff. But yeah, there's definitely needs to be some more stuff, more smaller details things. And I probably will continue with this guy. I'll pop him over to one side, and I will definitely continue with him in future. So I'll do as much as I can the next half an hour or so. But yeah, at this point in the stream, I do like to just let everyone give everyone a chance to ask any questions they want to ask, because I think sometimes when I'm doing this kind of stuff I do miss a lot of questions. I do like to answer them because that's the whole point of doing these streams rather than just doing another YouTube video. So yeah, if you have any questions, anything that you want to poke my brains about, then please do answer them now, and I'll try and cover them as much as I can. Would possession of warpstone be illegal in the Imperium? It really does depend, because if you can argue that it depends what the constituent parts of warpstone are. If warpstone are warp, as in the Immaterium, the warp that chaos comes from, then I reckon so. They would probably be classed as some sort of chaos artifact. If they are just some sort of raw material from some celestial raw material, maybe if they're not chaos related, then possibly not. You'd possibly get away with it. Where do you find lore in regards to inspiration for chaos conversions? So there's a few different places. So sometimes it is literally just a case of reading the wikis, try and find as much information as I can on the various wikis about various different chaos characters. But for the stuff where I do the Daunian Heresy, so that's kind of a mixture of things, because there's a Daunian Heresy and the Rebutian Heresies, they have like their own wikis and they're really useful for that kind of thing. But then what I try to do as well is read upon the loyalist versions of characters and see how I can reflect them in a chaotic form. So yeah, that's basically that. Sometimes there's also some cool stuff on I think there's a Daunian Heresy subreddit as well, which is pretty handy for stuff like that. What colored lighting do you use for the reveal part of your video? So I have these little lights here. I don't know if probably you can see them. These are like Govee LED lights. I have two of them, and I basically just set those up as different colors and put them next to the little spinny shot as it goes around, and then that gives it a nice little atmospheric appearance as I'm doing. But actually interesting, the background, this is how professional we are here over on YouTube, is pretty much just the inside. It's the inside box lid of the the Age of Darkness starter set for the Horus Heresy, because it's just a black interior on the box, but it's quite nice because it's big enough to act as a backdrop, and then because it's got the sides, it kind of, in the top, it stops the light reflecting on it as much, so just literally have that on the back. So if you see the other side, it's just the Age of Darkness box lid. But yeah, that's that's how professional we are over. They don't have these like professional grade. Where's my Dremel lid? Yeah, we don't tend to have these professional grade back. Some people do. Some people go the full hog and have these really nice backdrops. But now I choose the inside of a box lid, because why not? Any suggestions for an updated orc mech? Yeah, we never got one, did we? Let's have a look. Let's have a look at what the range is like at the moment. I would say we could maybe dip into... Where's Firefox gone? There. Okay. Destruction. Orc War Clans. I'm just seeing if there's anything in these guys that would work. I think the Crawl Boys are too different from the 40k Orcs. I quite like this guy. I think this guy as a basis for one would be pretty cool. You've got a hammer that you could use. He's got like an apron and tool belt. It wouldn't take much just to add some techie bits to him, especially if you're going for more like a beast snagger kind of vibe as well. You could also, he'd work really well for that, in my opinion. And you could basically, if you took the parts from... I'll find him. Yeah, so that's the old mech. So you have that kind of apron aspect to him still, but you're missing these little techie bits. But if you get some odd boys, wherever I find them, I'll find them in a second. Basically this guy comes with a big mech in mega armor, but if you don't want to run a big mech in mega armor, he actually comes with a load of cool little heads and gubbinsy bits, so you could easily stick those on to him. You could even maybe swap out one of his hands with a claw or something like that. But yeah, definitely a few options there. I think I quite like that model. He's nice, big, chunky. The hammer's a nice touch as well. Definitely the apron. The apron's very much in line with orc mechs. Would you do a Sigismund Kitbasher 30k? I don't know. Let's have a look at Sigismund. He does have a model, doesn't he, if I'm not mistaken? So what I do is I buy this guy and I just remove from his base. No, I don't know actually. If I was doing it for 30k, I think it's like, I don't know, you can't really improve much on that. What has he got? Mark 2 armor or Mark 3 artificer armor? It's more like Mark 2, isn't it? What I would do, if you meant it for 30k or 40k, the tongs option for the sword hand 2. Does it come with a tongs option? I like the... Also, you get the squig as well, which is pretty cool. The little anvil squig. But yeah, look, he comes with like little pliers and all sorts of stuff. Oh yeah, there we go. Cool. I've not actually seen that. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. You can go for the tongs as well. Where was I? Oh, Sigismund. I actually would quite like to do that. I know this is off tangent. I know this isn't the question that you asked, but this is the question I'm answering. I would actually really like to do a 40k version of him using the Emperor's Champion. I think the Emperor's Champion with a little bit of tweaking could work really well, personally. Or even the Marshal. I think the Black Tempest models painted up for the Imperial Fist would look pretty cool, personally. Where is he? There. It'd be pretty fun, that would, I think. Just as like a little random conversion, just like a... I think someone mentioned earlier, if I'm not mistaken, either someone asked the question or someone mentioned it in the chat, about in an obscure piece of lore that meant that, or obscure rule from one of the old editions, which meant that Crimson Fist could take an Emperor's Champion. because they were like of the same heritage lineage as the Imperial Fists. And that'd be pretty fun. An Imperial Fist Emperor's Champion. Yeah, I actually think I quite like the idea of that, to be honest. Not that. Where has it gone? Modifying this, I think you could. So you definitely have to go down the line of swapping out the shoulder pads. Basically, what you would do is you get this guy, and you would get a Mark III Space Marine, and you would just swap out the shoulder pads. You give him one of these backpacks. You give him these shoulder pads. The helmet's fine. Definitely swap out the backpack. And then probably add a few of those little ball bearings for the armor as well, just to kind of give it that kind of riveted feel, like how he's got them on his shoulder pad. Quite like that idea, if I do say so myself. Quite because the swords are very similar. The sword is very much like the standard kind of Emperor's Champion standard. Does it even say the same thing? Imperator. What does that say? Imperator Lux, is that? Am I reading that right? But his says Rex. Okay, interesting. The immortal words of Palpatine do it. That would be fun, actually. I don't know. It's one of those things where the trouble is with a lot of my kitbash ideas, I kind of have to balance them between whether or not they're just something that I'd find interesting or fun like that, and whether or not it's actually something that other people would have any interest in at all, because there's a lot of stuff, there's an awful lot of stuff which I would really love to do, but I just think most people probably wouldn't really care about it. So I kind of have to think, well, I don't ever really compromise. I very rarely do anything which I don't want to do. It's more of a case that if I'm going to do something that I want to do, I want to make sure that it's something that other people would like to see as well. So it does limit my options. But yeah, sometimes I'll do something that I want to do and it doesn't actually work, even though I'm not sure what people think. The Scrav Aok video that I did, the first Tower Auxiliary video, was one of those. I thought, I want to do this, and people enjoyed it. So yeah, maybe. That's a good option. Anyway, continue asking questions. I do apologise if I missed any in the time that I've been doing it. Manzak Miniatures, welcome. I may be remembering incorrectly, but I think back in third, anyone could take an Emperor's Champion. You may be correct, actually. Articus Bardane or bust? Who's Articus Bardane? Okay. Commander of the Relictors. Yes, I think somebody has asked me. I think it's been asked that before, actually. I've wanted to do something for the Mortifactors, I think, is who I'm thinking about. Yeah. Quite like the idea of the Mortifactors. They're kind of like as chaosy as you can get before you... I don't want to bloody out. What's this giant full-page advert? As kind of chaosy as you can get without actually being chaos. And the fact that they're supposed to be like Ultramarine successors as well is just funnier. Yeah. Are you going to be doing a video on kitbashing a Loyalist Mortarion? I would love to see what you could do with such a crazy model. I'm not sure. Possibly. The actual 40k model isn't overly chaotic. Apart from the big wings. It's not too bad. If I remember rightly, I haven't looked at the model for quite a while. But if you kind of... Let's get the spinning model. There we go. Of course, it's more zoomed out. So if you kind of look at the model in terms of its basic shape, yeah, you have obviously the dangly bits of torn cloth and stuff like that to contend with, but the armor itself isn't overly corrupted. There's still kind of like a basic shape of armor there, especially in the legs. The legs are very well sculpted. I think, if I remember rightly, they're still quite detailed even below where the robes cover. The problem you have is obviously the flying kind of pose that is in, I suppose. Yeah, you could possibly clean him up. You could possibly make him a little bit cleaner. I think in the back he gets quite gnarly on the back where his wings go. That's probably the biggest place. Oh, it's not as bad as I thought, actually. It's just tanks. You could keep the tanks, just take the wings off. Yeah, not the worst model in the world to actually do a kit bash over. I think the sizing, that's the only thing, because obviously he's a lot bigger than he would be in his human equivalent. You'd have to change his face as well. It's not exactly the face of a loyalist Primarch, that isn't. What's next for your Raptors? I don't know. So I haven't really made an army list as such. I think if I don't do anything before they get released, I will definitely do some scouts at some point, because I think scouts just fit the Raptors ideology perfectly. Probably have to fill out just more of the battle line units, so probably maybe some, I say probably heavy incestors, because I've got quite a lot of those already. They'll need a HQ at some point. I've had a couple of ideas, either taking a Torgaradon and turning that into a Rap Torgaradon, which is something I do owe the idea to Kabuski. I think I quite like the idea of making like a cave and shrike as well as the Raptors, but obviously that does limit me a little bit more when I'm running them as a certain army, so we'll have to see. I'm not sure yet. Manzak Miniatures, chaos you can get without being chaos. Relics is use chaos weapons, relics. Okay. I always get confused between those. The Mortifactors just look very chaosy. They look like they're some sort of chaos faction, and I think it was Jeff on the painting phase who was talking about them, and it just sounded funny. Just loads of skulls everywhere. The whole battle barge is just polished skulls as far as the eye can see. But yeah, relics is using chaos. That'd be pretty cool. I've been reading a lot of Eisenhorn recently, and without doing too many spoilers, it's kind of very much in the realm of loyalists using the weapons of chaos, which is quite an interesting aspect of the Imperium, I guess, and probably also an interesting aspect of how you could have models that are loyalists but still using chaotic weapons. I quite like that idea, actually. Yeah, maybe I should do some more. Maybe I should look into the relics a little bit more. That would be a good idea. Gotta go. Need to cook a big batch of chili for the week. You'll have a good night, everyone. You too. Don't spill the chili. Don't do it, Kevin. Love to see Beyond the Fell-Handed as one of your traitorous universe. Yeah, I think that's probably going to be my next one. The amount of people which have suggested Bjorn. I think the most popular ones so far have been Bjorn, Lucas the Trickster, a few people have mentioned as well, and also a couple of people have said about Gnarl Stormcaller as well. So I definitely think that there's going to have to be a Beyond the Fair-Handed. The direction that I go with him, I'm not 100% sure. So what I've done... I'm going to go down the Contemptor route, I think, as a basis. I was thinking about doing the Howlbrute, but the Howlbrute's just too much of a... It's too recognisable as a Howlbrute. That's a cool picture. Is that got it's kind of like a, so I'm just looking at the picture of Mortarion there. It's kind of like a slightly less demonic version of him. He's got his wings still, but it looks a bit more, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so I think the idea that I had was to do a Contemptor, and then really kind of go to town on the extra stuff. Because a Contemptor, if I'm... Wait, let me grab one to explain. Right, okay, so tabletop. So the Contemptor and the Demon Prince are pretty much spot on the same height. They're also on the same base as well, which helps massively. So yeah, I'm probably going to base Beyond the Fell-Handed on a Contemptor. I'm probably going to bulk him up a little bit. The main thing that I want to avoid really is these kind of more narrow. If you look around the waist gets quite narrow, so I want to try and avoid that as much as I can. But yeah, I think there's a few options there, I think, that I would like to go for. But I'm going to go for two close combat weapons. Just even though he will technically have a weapon, it's going to be basically that lots of skulls, mutated bits, as much as I can get away with really without being ridiculous, which is probably going to be quite a lot. But yeah, any more questions? Lucas the Trickster sounds way Zinchi. That's the only thing that I'm not 100% sure on, really. Lucas is going to be tricky because he is more kind of that. I agree, he has that more Zinchi idea, especially with the Trickster, and there is like that Trickster thing is a very Zinchian thing. Bionic Caliber, hey Pete, first time hopping in a stream of yours. I wanted to leave a couple of ideas before getting back to work. Number one, turn Gilliman into a Lorgar mini. And number two, a Gene Stealer Armiger Knight. Yeah, I like the idea. I think there's still a lot of Gene Stealer stuff to scratch the surface on. Someone mentioned there was a Gene Stealer cult that got infected by Nurgle. So I was just thinking that's just a crazy combination of like, okay, so we've got some humans, and then we're going to infect them with Xenos biomass, and then we're going to infect them with warp-infused Nurgle disease as well. Because why not? And it's just the idea of that combination just sounds very appealing to me. As does a knight as well. I think is it the Rusted Cog or Rusted Claw or something like that? That'd be pretty fun. But yeah, Gilliman as a Lorgar mini, I think that works quite well. I quite like the idea of a word bearer versus it's kind of like is. I know when they released the not Being of Prospero, what was it? Betrayal at Calth, that was word bearers and Ultramarines, wasn't it? So that'd be quite nice. Flipped, but yeah, that would be fun. Traitor Dante would be cool conversion. Yeah, you could really lean into that blood stuff. So one of the ideas I actually had was, though I can't remember what the exact name of them, but I think they're either called like blood racks or blood wraiths or something like that. They were basically they are, what were they now? I get really confused a lot. They're basically blood angels. I think they were blood angels clones, or they were like blood angels who were experimented on, or that fell to the red thirst, and they kind of became like mutated. I'm sure someone in the chat will probably know what I'm referring to. I hope you do. I hope you know what I'm referring to anyway, because I don't. What are they called now? Why are they called blood racks? I think I'm making stuff up. So basically, Blood Angels, Galvor, they were kind of like that, but they weren't necessarily chaos. They were just basically they had fallen to the red thirst. Black Rage mutants. They weren't Black Rage mutants. They were more like they were Blood Rage, Red Thirst mutants, not Black Rage. Because Black Rage is because of Sanguinius, wasn't it? It's going to really wind me up. It was it might be under this actually. The Red Thirst. That's really basic. think it might be on here, actually. Oh, go away. I think it was possibly something around the Horus Heresy. It could have been later, and it's a really small section from a book, I think, where a bunch of them get released by Chaos forces in the Fortress Monastery, and there's just these like blood angels, and they're like incredibly long or something like that, but they're just like red thirst mutants. But I'm sure I just sound like I feel like a madman just talking about something that no one can find. Someone must know what I'm talking about. Someone must know. Liam Bowman, thank you very much. Love your Kitbashers. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much for your donation there. Much appreciated. I shall keep up the good work because you have asked me to. No, I will do anyway. Thank you very much. Blood Fiends, thank you. Blood Fiend. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Soulforged. You've helped very well. Thank you. Right. So, the Apothecary is working on a radical new procedure to replenish the ranks of the Blood Angels in one swift stroke. The long-lost art of cloning, or replicae, as it was called by the High Gothic, similar to the techniques that the Raven Guardian once attempted to rebuild their legion following the treasure against the drop site. So it's basically like a failed cloning attempt. The experiments proved fruitless, and Commander Dante ordered a halt to further attempts. However, the sanguinary priest Caecus disobeyed the order and secretly continued the experiments, prodded by an agent of the vile former Emperor's children, Apothecary Fabius Bile. Caecus was tricked into bringing Bile, who was disguised as a well-known Adeptus Mechanicus Magus biologist called Haran Serpens, to Baal, mistakenly thinking the renegade Magos would help in cloning Space Marines to increase the Blood Angels' declining numbers. So, with the secret assistance of Bile, Caecus created a stable clone from his own gene seed, which he christened the Blood Child. The first cloning project was believed I can't read. At first, the cloning project was believed to be a great success, but when the clone was matched in mock combat against the combined might of Sergeant Wraithen and the Flesh Terror's Sergeant Knox, the Blood Child ultimately succumbed to the red thirst within a matter of solar minutes. After the Blood Child drank blood from a wound it inflicted on one of its foes, it rapidly transformed into a monstrous vampiric mutant. So they were basically called Blood Fiends. They're kind of like a really nice little bit of background where like their clones gone wrong, corrupted clones. So the Blood Fiends attacked the Blood Angels across the Fortress Monastery complex, proving stronger and more vicious than the Astartes. Despite their feral nature, they soon began to scavenge armor and weapons from their blood-drained victims, which enhanced their combat abilities. Overwhelmed by the desperate need of the red thirst, the Blood Fiends, led by the so-called Alpha Clone, penetrated the sanguinary chapel where the Red Grail and its precious sample of Primarch blood was kept. The Alpha Clone sacrilegiously drained the Red Grail dry, which only made the creature's thirst for blood worse. Dante himself led the assault of the Blood Angels to reclaim the sanguinary chapel and the sepulchre where the Primarch's body lay in state for over 10,000 studded years. It was Wraithen who slew the Alpha Clone. It's pretty crazy, really. This kind of stuff is not really well known. I feel like there's a whole kind of thing there. So the Blood Angels Wolfen, basically, in not so many words, they're basically just Blood Angels Wolfen. But that's basically what they are. I've always kind of liked the idea of doing that, and one of the things which there's just a very long-winded way of doing it, but I think. Let's go on to box games. Warcry. I actually reckon the Gorges would actually be quite a fun way of representing them. Like maybe not the ones that like just that maybe been hanging around, some like that had been managed to escape. I think with a few modifications, if you drilled some holes and stuff into the chest and made them look like they'd been they'd had like maybe black carapace or augmetics and stuff like that, and maybe swapped out some of the hands and give them some weapons. I reckon you could possibly make some pretty cool looking blood fiends out of those personally. The ghoul hanging from the pillar would work well for this. I think so, yeah. I think either that or the Flesh Eater Quartz, the bigger guys from Flesh Eater Quartz. Crypt Horrors. There has been some rumours about these guys getting re-released though, hasn't there? Especially the little guys. So yeah. Might be tricky to find hands to swap for how large they are. Possibly, yeah. But I think you can maybe just swap out, keep the hands and then just swap out the weapons they're carrying. That might be easier. Like with this one where it's just got a hammer, you can possibly just crop that, cut that down, put something else there, something more futuristic. Quite like that warband though. Never really been into Warcry, but I quite like the Gorges. That'd be fun. Just a big group of giant, pale-skinned. Yeah. Anyway, I think Gorge hands are similar size to Orc Knob hands. Oh, that's interesting. That might, yeah, because we've got a picture of him next to humans there. I mean, his hands are big as this guy's chest, so yeah, pretty big. But yeah, anyway, I think I'm going to call the stream there. So we'll probably continue the stream next weekend, next Sunday, carry on with this Skaven Mech Part 2. And unless I decide to do something different, but yeah, we'll definitely, I might paint some of my World Eaters army. I'm not sure yet, we'll see. But yeah, I think that's a decent start. I think we had a few little slowdowns with the old warpstone head there, but we got there in the end. I think there's a few more ideas to go. I'm going to dig some more parts out for these Necromunda things, because I quite like the idea of this. It helps to feed into the designs that I already put into place with the previous one. And yeah, I think we've got a solid start there, personally. But yeah, thank you very much to everyone who has joined the stream. Thank you very much who subscribed, donated, everything like that. Thank you very much to everyone who just tuned in to say hello, ask questions. But yeah, it's been a good stream. I've enjoyed it, and I hope you have too. And I'll double check, but I should be streaming next Sunday, same time. So yeah, please do feel free to join me over there. I also released another video today for the Raptors, so if you haven't checked that out already, please do watch that. I enjoyed building it and building the squad, and I will probably get more Raptors on the streams in the future as well. So yeah, thank you very much to everyone. I hope you all have a wonderful week. I hope you get plenty of hobby work done. I can't find OBS now. Cool. I hope you all have plenty of hobby work to do, and yeah, enjoy it. If you, I feel like I had one more thing to say. Oh yeah, if you haven't done so already, then make sure you join the Discord. There should be a link to it down in the description below as well. It's if you want to leave like suggestions for stuff to do in future videos or streams, and there's little channels in there you can do that as well. So feel free to do that if you have any ideas. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. I shall see you now. Since the stream I was here for was you getting attention. To be fair, the last bit I always go on a tangent at the end because I like to wrap up before the end, so I don't overrun. Anyway, thank you very much, guys. I will see you all in the next stream as well. So thanks, guys. Bye.